Hello, 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 everybody. This is going to be the ML5 Headhunt tier list, updated for post-Christmas, almost New Year's, featuring Tristan Wolf. Yay! Tristan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi.
Okay, all right. Anyways, so Tristan.
Let's not make this one a 2-hour tier list.
Okay. Actually, the length made it better, if you could believe it or not. But that's okay. We'll have timestamps. Okay. Yeah. This time I'll remember. Okay. We'll make tier lists. This is a quality of life fucking tier list, bro. Okay. All good. It could be 2 hours long so long as we've got chapters, right?
Let's start with something that nobody's going to complain or argue about.
Okay.
Let's just stick Specter Tenebria in the must-have #1 spot.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say a Tywin, but all right, we can go with Specter Tenebria. Hold on. All right. Wow. Who would have thought? Specter Tenebria, if you don't have her, is just who you pick here. Pretty indisputably. Someone complained, or I got a complaint last time when I made this video that I didn't explain my thinking too much. So let me ramble a little bit, shall we? Let me explain my thoughts as to why Specter Tenebria is S. This character does it all. She solos pretty much every, PvE content that you could dream of, where she's allowed. She has poison, so she does really well with Abyss. That hasn't changed. Nothing has changed since the last tier list, essentially. Her PvP viability has gone up even more, if you can believe it or not, which is pretty crazy because she was already really good. But now she's pretty much first pick material, or you pre-ban her. Insane. If you haven't picked her from your Moonlight Blessing, which is what you really should have done instead of your ML5 Hunt tier list, here she is. She's an S tier character. All right, what do you think, Tristan?
She is an eternal unit. It doesn't matter what meta we're in, she's good. She's better in some metas than in others, but there's never been a meta all the way back to the beginning where she hasn't been very good, if not top of the meta. She's a safe unit to have built. You never have to worry about anything happening to the game. Stenny was going to find a place in it. She's one of only a handful of units you can say that about.
Yep. I definitely agree. I think... Has there literally ever been a unit that has had this long of a viability before? I think like the closest is like FCC.
I think Landy is about the closest for me.
In terms of MLs, I think the only unit I can think of that's ever been close, even close to Stene's viability is like Fallen Cecilia and like maybe APOC. But APOC is even kind of like a more recent OP character. Okay, but let's get on to the next one. Who do you want to do next?
You want to do a Tywin, so...
All right, here we go. A Tywin. All right, where would you put a Tywin?
Niche, D tier.
Okay.
I mean, if we're saying that, like... no, C tier.
Okay.
He does have some occasional uses, but they're niche. D tier is like, good God, why am I even gearing this unit kind of bad?
So why
sadness tier?
Hold on. If we started, how about this? If we started with Specter Tenebria as the best, is there an ML like we can edit this out, by the way. But if we had to include the worst ML5, do you think you could pinpoint the worst ML5 in the game right now? Put it in D. Judge Kise? Let me think about that. Do I agree? God damn, it's fucking Judge Kise. Oh my god.
Right.
Holy shit. Oh my god. It's Wait. Wait, is it ML Ken? It might be ML Ken too.
The changes to the way crit works, I've seen ML Ken win a couple of fights. I mean, he's not good. He's still in the same ML sadness tier, but
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Jugs. Okay. Let's take this part. Let's take this apart. So let's redo this. Judge Kise. All right, 522. Judge Kise. All right. Explain to me, Mr. Tristan, why you think Judge Kise is the worst ML5.
She's not high enough damage to cleave. She's not fast enough to be an opener. One of her big niches is rolling back skills, which faster, better units can do and can guarantee do it with soul burns. It's just everything that she does, somebody else does it better, faster, and bigger.
Okay, I agree. I actually tried cleaving with her not so long ago. It was kind of a long ago, but like her soul burn, like her extra turn being the way that it is, but also essentially doing nothing, because for every other unit that has an extra turn, their soul burn is usually their extra turn, and there's something really impactful that happens from taking the extra turn, right? Like you think of Roy and other characters like that, where you get the soul burn and you feel like the real impact of that extra turn. But stripping and blinding in a meta where, you know, Roy, Lilibet, or not Roy, Ed and Lilibet and, you know, DJB and all these other characters can basically cleanse or punish you, make her actually feel like, the worst character in the game. And as you said, not enough damage. I mean, they could at least have buffed her multis, to be honest, right? She's not even a fast unit. If you were to even use her, you'd probably have to use Symbol of Unity, which is also a kind of like a notch on your wrist, right? Because you can't even reliably kill evasion units if you wanted to use her like that. And yeah, not much else to say. This character sucks. D. All right. Who do you want to do next?
Well, throw a Tywin in there. We already said he's niche.
Okay. So you think a Tywin is where?
Yeah, right there. Nice, good round place for him. He's not a lot of knights are draftable, and fewer still that are 5-star, and practically none that are ML. So ML5. He's got a neat trick with his cleansing of debuffs on hit. And but I mean, he's really only used in control fights, and control's not huge right now. If that's your thing, then you could move him up a notch, but I think the majority of the player just aren't going to use him.
Yeah, I would almost disagree with you and put him in D alongside Judge Kise. Sure. Because I think there's a few characters that truly are D that we'll get to later.
I wouldn't argue it.
Yeah, I think if I were to ever put him in like maybe D, like C minus or like D plus, I would say he is kind of nice if someone for whatever reason does end up wanting to like spam, you know, debuffs into you. And I do think that he does okay into Sage Baal. But the odds of you being able to make an A Tywin counter into Sage Baal is so low that it's really not worth it. His damage is pretty ignorable. His effectiveness, the effectiveness build, I think is probably his best build, but even then, I don't think I've ever seen anyone win more than 2 games in an entire stream with a Tywin, which is kind of telling.
I don't disagree. I'd be fine with moving him down.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we can keep him tentatively in C, but we'll see if we'll move him down to D. Okay, how about APOC? What do you think of APOC?
She used to be a must-have unit. She's still really, really good, but she's seen enough counterplay. I think I can't keep her on the same tier as units like Stenny. Some people are going to argue with me that she deserves top tier, but I think she's at the top of A tier. Yeah,
oh my god.
Very strong meta pick, but not meta defining anymore.
The last time I put APOC in A tier, I got reamed like real bad by the community because I was saying that stuff like Landy and whatever countered her, which is still true, by the way.
You would think with Hwayoung being gone that she would be even stronger, but just more things came out that ruin her.
Yeah, it's crazy because with basically every unit that is recently released, they somehow, or like been released or buffed, somehow they inadvertently counter APOC. Like, I don't think people even realize this, and this happened to me, I think, almost like 10 or 15 times in my RTA matches. People don't remember or don't even realize that Briar Witch Iseria counters APOC. And Briar Witch Iseria is, like, one of the best units in the game right now. For, like, aggro, I should say. Just because of how much...
She's a unit that basically can't be one-shot.
Yeah.
A self-healing unit that does damage and injury and raises things and can't be one-shot. I mean, that's going to always be one of the best units in the game, but I just don't see her in the top tier anymore.
Yeah. Furthermore, I don't know if, especially if you're using this ML5 Headhunt, I know we kind of talk like multi-purposely or like more versatile, like for more versatility-wise. I don't think APOC is even necessarily mandatory in PvE either, right? She's good, and there's definitely scenarios I can imagine where you would use her in Guild War or something, some other PvE content, or some non-real-time arena content where you can use APOC, but I think there's either alternatives to it in a 3-star form, or she just gets countered in PvP, so probably not worth it, I think, to pick over some of the other picks in S tier. But if you have any of the S tier, or if you have all the S tier characters, I think that Apoc's damage is still pretty good. You can still punish a lot of designer Lilibet players. You can still punish health stackers. One that comes to mind is like Dark Corvus and stuff like that. But we'll see, right? The new character Ray may change things up. He's not out yet, by the way, and he's excluded in this list. But I don't think Apoc is a bad character by any means, but I don't think she's ever going to be another first pick character for as long as Smilegate continues to release new characters. But yeah, that's Apoc. How about Arbiter Vildred?
Man, it feels weird to say this about Arby, but I think he's down in D tier. He really only is good for farming and the occasional counter cleave pick, and a lot of times not even that.
Yeah, like
it feels really weird and bad. I've got 2 of them built, and I can't remember the last time I used it outside of killing the NPCs in RTA, or I mean NPCs in regular arena.
It's what I find really crazy about Arbiter Vildred is that I used to put Arbiter Vildred in the C near D tier, right? Like almost relegated exclusively to PvE, or as you know, some people like to play Moonlight Dreamblade RB. But even now, there's a better thief that you would run on Moonlight Dreamblade to counter cleave, which is Aiden. Which is crazy because now you can't even really use him as an anti-cleave unit. Or if you do, there's probably a better unit that you could use with anti-cleave. And there's already like at this point, like hundreds of, AoE units that you could put on your your adventure side story stuff. Like I can't even imagine at this point what you would struggle with if you can't have Spirit Eye, or not Spirit Eye, Free Spirit Tieria. Free Spirit Tieria clears all PvE stages. Arbiter Vildred does the exact same, but I think isn't Free Spirit actually faster than RB at killing PvE side story stuff? I'm pretty sure she is.
You don't have Mola. If you don't want to put 30 Mola into RB, she's way better.
Yeah. In any case, yeah, this unit's basically a relic of the past. Maybe he'll get a buff in the future, but I can't see him getting a buff for a long time, just because of how popular he was.
I mean, if you want, you can move him up into C tier just for the occasional anti-cleave use, but I mean, I'm not feeling comfortable with him beside Judge Kise.
I mean, at this point,
yeah, maybe switch Tywin and RB.
Yeah, when I see these 3 units, this kind of makes sense to me because these are 3 units that you would almost never essentially see in any content in the game, right?
There are enough situations where I feel like I might grab RB if my opponent drafts really dumb, and I can't think of any situations where I would grab Kise.
Yeah. We can order it within the tiers, but yeah, I think this is fine. All right, how about Archdemon?
Oh, a solid A tier.
A tier. Okay. All right, what do you like best about Archdemon?
She puts you on a timer. If you don't deal with her very quickly, you just die. You are on a countdown for S3, and then she ruins you. A lot of the more dangerous units, she seals them, and they're not dangerous anymore. She works without a lot of damage built into her. She can work as a control build, as a counter build, as a damage build. Just a very strong all-round pick unit. If you play standard, she's kind of a staple unit.
I heard some people complaining because Arrowell was getting kind of popular and people were using Destina, and it was feeling a little tough to play Archdemon recently. But I think with Briar Witch, we might see more Mediator Kawerik and stuff back. So I kind of like Archdemon as well. I think her damage is really underrated. Everyone sees the counter and they get frustrated and they see all the blinds, but actually just the raw damage that you put out from being on a crit chance build, or if you are a plus 30 on Fairy Tail and you just have 3k attack, both of those builds actually do a lot more damage than I think people give credit. It's not just the S3 that does a lot of damage with the Death Break into S1, but even just the random procs, they chip a lot of teams down. Especially Aureus holders, right? That damage really starts to add up quickly. The seal, as you said, also does really well. And I don't know if there's anyone right now that you would seal. But being able to Soulburn seal, I think, was probably, for me, probably what would keep her in A tier. If you weren't able to Soulburn like Rowana or certain units that you'd fight against, I would definitely put her lower. But I would actually... Oh, actually, thinking about it now, Solitaria getting nerfed a little bit with Dark Corvus also makes me want to put her higher in A. Because I don't think Solitaria is quite as OP, although she's still strong with Dark Corvus on hold, I guess, or on the bench. Not even on the bench, in your inventory. I think D-Corp's pretty cool, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, you'd keep him A, right?
Yeah.
Or keep her A, yeah. Okay, how about the lady in the chair, Miss Belian?
Belian's a weird one. She, I would put her, I want to put her in A tier because that's where she belongs if you're allowed to play her.
Mm-hmm.
But you're almost never allowed to play her. She's commonly pre-banned, and if somebody picks her in the draft, there's a high probability she's just going to be post-banned. I like that you can play her on counter or you can play her on injury. She's got multiple different builds, and she's really not that hard to build. High damage,
really shit.
Unit, take super high-end gear.
Mm-hmm.
Her biggest issue is just people don't let you play her. But yeah, I would stick her high A.
Yeah. See, here's something that I'm a bit 50-50 about, right? When a character is as good as Belian, or when a part of a character's kit is as good as Belian's, there are like entire playstyles that you block out when you pick Belian, right? Or when Belian is available, which is almost not something you could say about any other character on this list, right? Like even Fallen Cecilia, who a lot of cleavers used to ban in the past, I don't think has been banned nearly as much as Belian has for people that want to use book, right? And it's such a colossally like game-changing aspect of her kit, right? Like you can no longer use books, that in a meta where Specter Tenebria is super popular, you would imagine her to be an S tier character just because of how much she's banned. But when I hear people talk about them picking Belian in like standard, or sometimes even when people cleave against a Belian, she doesn't actually... It's not like a guaranteed win, the way that like if you picked Violet into like an all-water team, the game should be won. Like some players, I don't know, I know they haven't done it recently, but like Kukerbat used to just play Stene into Belian. And I know some Stene players just run Warhorn and they don't really care about Belian. That being said, that was a little while ago, so I don't know if that's still something that they do. But I'm having a really tough time debating if Belian is better than APOC and should stay in S, or if she's just above APOC in A.
Yeah, you said something that's ringing true in my head, and that's that she doesn't counter units, she counters play styles.
Yeah.
And that alone shoves her up a tier. You sold me on her being an S tier, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean
that's how can a unit that not only counters units but counters play styles be anything but S?
Yeah. I think it's definitely valid to put her in A, because let me tell you, sometimes I watch people play Belian, she doesn't counter or she just gets stunned and the game is over. But I think anywhere between like bottom of, or like somewhere in S and top of A is fairly the same. Like there's not that much difference between the two. But how about Blood Moon Haste?
Blood Moon Haste is holding hands with Judge Kise down in the ML Sadness tier. There are very few units that do as little as Blood Moon Haste. He pops a really nice shield when somebody does a raise, and we're in a meta where Iseria stops people from raising. And the units that do raises with non-attack skills, which is pretty much almost all of them, get punished by units like Winter. And playing slow raise games just isn't a thing right now. If we had a tier lower than the D tier, I would stick Haste and Kise down there, which is terrible because I've been wanting Haste forever. He was the last ML5 that I got. He was the last one in my collection, and I was so happy when I finally got him, and I built him, and I used him in no games the entire season. and I sat down and thought about it and got really sad about it.
To do a quick aside, yeah, Atsu, I think I recall you playing some RTA, and we were giving you advice on who to ban. I was like, he wants to play Kayron, but there's a better counter unit in the game. But Kayron is pretty good now too. So all good. Kayron's got his showcase. I do think that returning back to ML Haste for a second though, I think most players in the game nowadays would actually rather extinct a unit rather than revive them, which is the actual best part of anti-revive comps, right? You have stuff like top model Luluca, you have Milim, oh my god, Briar Witch, who's going to show up later on this tier list, don't worry, who are all really good, and they all punish like revive units without much complication, right? You pretty much just kill them, and that's it. They don't come back, right? The weakness that I think of ML Haste that people sometimes also forget is that in order for you to even make use of ML Haste's like anti-revive aspect, you also have to not be unbuffable. And unfortunately, a lot of characters in this game unbuffable you, i.e. Peyra, you have Politis, like basically pick your poison. Any debuffer in this game kind of gives some debuff to you or is able to strip it, which just makes this huge 15,000 or however strong the shield is, this huge shield that ML Haste gives you basically irrelevant. So I would agree. I'd put him in D. He almost, like if it wasn't for the fact that technically speaking there is a universe where ML Haste could win, I would probably put him below Judge Kise. But there are scenarios where if someone picks like Maid Chloe and no cleanse, or like they don't pick any like super high tempo units and there's no unbuffable, by the way, like 9 loops of things that have to go right, like yes, you can pick ML Haste, but realistically you're never gonna pick him. He kind of sucks dick, unfortunately.
You're gonna pick ML Haste when they pick Arby, and look where Arby is on the tier list.
Yeah, exactly. They're probably about the same in terms of usability, but it's okay. It is. Oh yeah, there's also inversion, which is even worse because now you get inverted, or you give your whole team, over what, like 3 times the size shield for your team, and then it gets inverted by Ning Ning or DJB, and the game's over. Okay, all right. How about Briar Witch?
S tier. Hard S tier. Hard S tier.
S tier.
Not even gonna argue about it. Okay. One of the best units in the game right now.
Okay, I am in hard agreement. I'm gonna do my part this time first, and then I'll let you explain that part.
Just pick her and win. That's all the explanation. Pick and win.
Okay. At the time of this recording, I don't know if this is still the case. All right, but one of the things that really made me think that this Briar Witch character is broken is that you can actually not allow PvE mobs to revive, which is disgustingly OP if you run Azamanek and you have a defense breaker who can defense break on S3 and S1 and also prevents the Azamanek eggs from reviving. If that's a part of your kit, and we haven't even talked about how OP she is in PvE and PvP, this is a good ass character. That is a super good character.
Those eggs on stage 1 of the Vera fight, Biako? Yeah, those don't come back either.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a bug. I don't know if that's the way that this is going to be forever, but that is pretty OP. However,
I expect that to be patched, but yeah.
Yeah. Now let's reel it in a little bit, because we do have to talk about her viability in PvP, which is even crazier than her viability in PvE, because for whatever reason, they buffed her hit chance, which, okay, a fine buff, but at the same time, despite already being immortal, now she also doesn't let anyone revive, which I thought was going to be more of a problem because it also works against you. It doesn't let you buff, or it doesn't let you revive anyone in your team, but why would you ever have Briar Witch with revivers on your own team? That makes no sense. So if you're a cleaver like me, or if you're a fast aggro player like a lot of the player base, you can slap this unit to basically one-shot, Specter Tenebria, well, nearly one-shot, or basically cripple Specter Tenebrias, unbuffable them, any DPS unit that you want. If you have the speed to go before them, the whole team is defense broken, unbuffable, and you can't revive any unit while she's on the board. So, aka if for Guiding Light procs, you're just not going to be able to revive anyone for 2 turns or 3 turns until you knock her out. Like, this is a laundry list of things that this character does now, which makes no sense, and she's really, in my opinion, almost as broken as Specter Tenebria in terms of all she does in her kit. But yeah, a lot of people have been asking if she's worth pulling, if she's worth building, and I can pretty proudly say that at this point, she is gotta be an S tier character and is only countered, I would say, by maybe Conqueror Lilias, Ed, and Lilibet. 3 characters in the whole game. But she is like about Ida level in terms of being a broken 4th or 5th pick ban unit. No one will ever let this unit through if there's a Destina or Reviver or basically a cleavable, submissible, breedable team on the enemy team. And yeah, that's where I put Briar, which I put S. So if you wanted to continue, if you had anything to add, Tristan, do you have anything else to say about Briarwitch and where you place her?
Get this unit and win. She's an account changing unit.
That is crazy because she was my first cleave unit I ever pulled. Back before I even had RB, when I was trying to cleave with SSB. But okay, moving on. Let's go to Closer Charles. What do you think of this unit?
Oh man, he was high in the A tier for me last time, and he is just not keeping up with the damage. There are better cleave options out there. I have to push him down a notch, put him in B tier, I think.
Mm-hmm. What have you found, or what have you seen, or have you seen Closer Charles at all recently in play or in PvE or any usage, or what exactly do you think about his kit makes him not be able to keep up?
I've used him here and there. He's good for single target cleave as an opener in the way that I play, but the way I play is kind of unique. And even there, I don't grab him very often. He still has a place. I just don't think he does quite enough. I don't know. He's a solid, good, usable unit, but he's not niche or trash, but he's not broken or really even first pick anymore. He's only valuable for cleave and high-end aggro, so he's limited to just a couple of styles. He takes really good gear that you're probably going to want on some other better units. So I don't know. I stick him in a solid B, just a good meat and potatoes, solid RTA unit. Probably not first pick, but definitely somebody, if you have, you'll probably want geared if you play aggressively.
I have only seen one kind of Closer Charles work recently, where the enemy opponent simply... Well, I could probably see 2. I can imagine 2 scenarios where Closer Charles works, but there should really only be one Closer Charles build that works right now, and I think that's if you're going something super out of the norm, right? Which is a build that I'm not even fully familiar with, but like a super high or super high variability, like super cheese build on this Closer Charles character is the only build that I can imagine works. I've only seen one person even use him recently, and that's Kenny, who like uses like that really high damage one, who's like basically like CDOM. But I've not seen Closer Charles ever be picked for any other reason other than being a high damage dealer. The meta in RTA right now kind of revolves around characters giving themselves attack buff, which kind of, or like giving yourself attack buff through, you know, top model Luluca or Peyra, or just not needing it at all, and you just kill someone with like Commander Pavel who gives it to himself, like use Conqueror Lilias Vigor, something like that. So I know you put him at B, but because I almost don't even see him at all, I'm almost tempted to put him in like C, damn near D. Because I
would see. I think he is far more usable than some of the D tier units.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. I don't think you would. I could maybe see him like once in a blue moon if like you don't have an opener, or if they really let you, you know, cleave someone. But I'm just thinking, like, think about all the loops, right? You gotta pick, like, is Belian banned? Is Armin banned? Like, are you going to like be able to deal with Angel of Light? Or are you going to be able to deal with Sage Baal? Like, it almost feels like a grief pick. But yeah, I guess I wouldn't put them at the same. Yeah, is Aiden banned too? Like, it's
yeah,
it's a laundry list of problems. But yeah, okay, I'm okay with leaving him at C.
C it is.
All right, what about Conqueror Lilias?
Oh, right beside Bryce area.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I know what you're thinking. You get punished if you first pick her a lot of times, but she is still first picked a lot. She is still pre-banned substantially more than most other units. She's really good in PvE. She's good as a late pick as well as an early pick. She's an opener. She does so many things. She's not nearly as good as the two in front of her, but I can't see a world where she's not in the S tier.
Yeah, I think having a character that I think I've said this before. Any character that gives you, or most characters that give you defensive and offensive buffs at the same time, have to be some level of usable, right? And in Conqueror Lilias's case, with her being 120 speed and also being able to crowd control in addition to giving offensive and defensive buffs, this makes her, I would say, I would actually put her ahead of Iseria, just because of how tested she is. Like, we don't necessarily, to be honest, although I think Briar Witch right now is super strong, there isn't any guarantee that like a unit won't come out that, or like there isn't something that we haven't tested yet that could counter Briar Witch. Like maybe the unbuffable stuff or the debuff or anti-debuff characters will really push Briar Witch out. But even against some of these debuff units like Lilibet, Conqueror Lilias was never like that awful against units like Designer Lilibet. Even against her like true counters, Politis and all that stuff, Conqueror Lilias still feels pretty good to play, and she's such a versatile first pick, right? This is a character that I think in most cases is probably as strong in terms of like hiding your first pick as a Specter Tenebria, or even like a Faithless Lidica. Like, you don't really know what's going to happen when you see some of these units be picked. So I would definitely put her ahead of Briar Witch just because she's already good. And a lot of people, I think, like, I wouldn't say slowing down, but people relying more on the guiding light of Lua and Leica instead of just trying to outspeed the Conqueror Lilias every time is something that I would attest to see Lilias being second. Angel of Light does hard counter Briar Witch sometimes, I think, because I think the Death Break goes first. But yeah, I would say C. Lilias is definitely a second pick. Vigor is no joke of a buff, and neither is hard provoking a unit from 1 or 2 turns. I put her at S. I think we both agree with that. Where we sort out the top of S is fine. But what do you think about the man, the myth, the legend, Dark Corvus?
Still mad that with all of that armor, he's not immune to injury. His climb has been incredible. He went from D tier to people saying, yeah, you know what, we'll squeak him in. He's getting used a little bit, to now suddenly Solitaria can't control him anymore, giving him the ability to not be stunned. Wow, he's climbed the charts high. I am torn between A and B tier from the man in black there.
Yeah, what's so crazy is that for people that don't play PvP like very often, like, you might be wondering why Dark Corvus is even I would almost say that B is even kind of like a low rating for him. Like, there are some people that I think really would argue that this character's in the A and the S, and it's not because he counters a bunch of playstyles. It's that Solitaria, another character that's on here, was so rampant in PvP recently that simply adding a character who can deal with all the other standard units in the game and also can't be stunned, like, in other words, a better Mort, right, in a lot of respects, is so valuable that he basically shot up all the way from D tier all the way to A tier. And just to be clear, this is not his first buff that he's received recently either. His other buff, in my opinion, was kind of crazy, which is the fact that you can fucking extinction a unit on S3. I don't know where they were going with that when they first buffed his S3 to have extinction on it. And I think the stun, even with just having the stun, I think he would have been a pickable unit. But this like kind of I think throws him a bit over the edge in terms of like standard play, right? Because people that want to play Solitaria now are probably hiding behind Destina, a Ruele, or a Reviver, or like a Knight. But now Dark Corvus can just kill every single one, and there's no way for you to revive them. It's not even something like a Briar Witch where like maybe you can just get rid of the Briar Witch and they're done. This Dark Corvus unit is just going to extinction 4 units in a row, and there's nothing you can do about it. If you're on Durandal, or if you have Strax Gauntlet, or if you have ER, this unit will just kill everything. His S3 is not that hard to build bar for, nor is getting the souls to S3 Dark Corvus with. He really, if you just say, okay, someone's saying just kill him, man, I dare you to try against some of these standard units, because Solitaria is certainly not killing him. Lionheart Cermia, who's another common pick, and who Dark Corvus does really well into, also does not kill Dark Corvus very easily or even at all. And yeah, I would say Dark Corvus is definitely, I don't think I would put him over APOC. I don't know if I would put him over ADS, but I would definitely say he's up here.
Yeah, I'm not ready to go full on 1176 on him yet. I like him in B tier more than A tier, but he's definitely at the top of B.
Okay,
bottom of A at best.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I would definitely agree. I think LQC does also kind of hold him down a little bit, but I don't know how strong. And we'll get to her, but I don't know how strong Mediator. I think depending on how strong Mediator is on this tier list, I think my assessment of Dark Corvus will go up and down, because I think Mediator plus LQC together as a combo kind of deals with Dark Corvus in a sense. So we'll see how this goes, but I'm okay with Dark Corvus. You want to put him in B, and we can maybe move him up to A depending on how we see him later. I think that's fine.
He feels better there.
Yes. I definitely agree. Okay. Now, let's do DJB. What do you think of DJB?
You know, DJB, I used to have an S tier, but I'm dropping him down to A or B tier because of, to be honest, because Ning Ning seems to do it better. She has the barrier inversion of DJB. She's got the speed push from mages right now. If it was reversed and we were back to Soul Weaver pushes, I'd give the edge to DJB. But
Ning Ning
right
is an A. Ning Ning is a
faster. She does the same barrier inversion, and she has a slightly better kit.
Ning Ning is a Soul Weaver. Ning Ning is a
Soul Weaver. God,
it's okay.
That girl that much.
Everything that you said was proper. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but yeah, everything you said is right. I agree.
But yeah, I just like Ning Ning better. Down to the art.
I think something that a lot of people who played DJB liked about his kit, and part of the reason why I would even consider putting him, I think that he is a hard B tier character. I think that this is a character, when you know that someone is playing a certain playstyle, or you know that there's barriers coming up, you could definitely pick him. But even if you look at the way that his builds are nowadays, right? I see a lot of people on Eternus instead of Water's Origin, and I think that everything that DJB did and people liked about DJB was basically put into Ning Ning's kit, but a bit more aggressively and with a bit more rotation, right? Because what used to happen, in my opinion, when I played DJB and stuff, is that you would get the inversion or the S3 or both, right? But then you kind of had this like just S1, right? And you were just praying to God that you had a stun, right? But you didn't give an attack buff, and you were kind of just relying on the inversion to do enough, right? That's like this DJB Cavill build, or this DJB Cavill combo that used to be really popular together. You were happy to play DJB Cavill just because Cavill gave himself an attack buff. But Ning Ning, I think, actually has a lot of usage just as an inversion attack buffer, where you can actually give an attack buff to someone, and you also have a soul burn that guaranteed stuns on turn or on soul burn S1, unlike DJB, which is really why I like DJB in some scenarios now. I almost think he's more of like a cheese pick, but I also agree, despite not having her build. But when I tested Ning Ning, I really liked Ning Ning because she's just in a more aggressive DJB. the inversion, all that stuff. And she's not on here, but I think that DJB now is a cleanser, and that's fine. But I think is more of a niche pick, and can take people off guard. But I don't think he's almost ever better than Ning Ning. So I'm okay to put him in B. If you think he's an A, I'm okay to put him in A too. But I think he's a B character.
I mean, he's the only ML5 with inversion. He does have a push and a cleanse, and the immunity spamming's nice. I'd be fine with him at the bottom of A, but
okay,
he could be in B as well. I think he's more. I don't know. I think he's more on par with A Ravi. I can't remember the last time I fought one where I felt threatened by him, but he's a unit that when he's picked, you have to consider it and draft around it. You can't just say, oh, okay, that doesn't bother me.
Yeah. And you can't just pick like Peyra and, all these barriers without still considering him, right? Which is fair. The immunity, I'm seeing it mentioned too. The 2-turn immunity, or is it 3-turn or 2-turn? I think it's 2-turn. But the immunity lasting more than a single turn, I think is also pretty significant. And it being a full cleanse. But yeah. All right. If we want to leave this here, I think this is okay. Let's go to Designer Lilibet. What do you think about Designer Lilibet?
A tier just for her voice acting.
Okay. So aside from her voice, what do you like about this character, Designer Lilibet?
She hits like a truck. She's relatively easy to build. She turns off skills. She works great with Lua. She's just a solid all-round unit. She does damage. You can build her to cleave. You can build her disrupt. You can put her on unethical artifacts like Azure Comet. If she's on the team, you have to consider her. You have to really think hard about what you're going to do to deal with this unit, or she's going to ruin your team.
I think Designer Lilibet Designer Lilibet to Ed is what I feel as though DJB is to Ning Ning, where the both of them haven't been like power crept, but both of them are like, I feel like there are many more scenarios where you would rather pick Ning Ning or you'd rather pick Ed early, right?
Ed took a lot of her food. I agree.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can increase Tristan. Sorry, 1 second. I would say that she's kind of. Sorry, 1 second. I would say that Designer Lilibet is still good because I think to allow someone to press Conqueror Lilias' S3s or her S3 is really, really, really threatening. So Designer Lilibet preventing units from using their debuffs like Iseria, Conqueror Lilias, like Ran, all these units still do get countered by Designer Lilibet, or all these characters still get countered by Designer Lilibet, which is good, and she's there as like a preventative measure. But I do think that more recently, she does kind of get countered by Aiden. She definitely gets countered by Faithless Lidica. And units like Pirate Captain Flan actually bypass her fairly easily.
Yeah, I would be fine with moving her down a tier, much in the same way we moved DJB down a tier because of recent units addressing and creeping them.
Okay. I mean,
I play aggro and cleave, and when I play aggro, I used to reach for her a lot, and I don't reach for her much anymore, and that's probably why.
Yeah, I'm okay to. I think DJB and Lilibet should kind of walk together. Should kind of be hand in hand, because both of these units have like a similar, like slightly more usable version of themselves in the RGB or limited department. So I'm okay with keeping them B. Again, her damage is still solid. You can definitely still cheese with this character. Her, like, what build she's on exactly is always kind of a mystery. Which I think always adds to the viability of characters. And by the way, just so we know, a lot of these characters are not really usable in PvE that we've recently been mentioning. We already said, like, Stene, how she's really good. But just to keep a note, I know that we mentioned PvE units a little while ago. But Dark Corvus is probably still fine for Guild War. He's still probably really OP if you're in the T guild. But these other units aren't that usable in PvE, I would imagine. So just wanted to keep an update. Yeah, her damage is fine. She is cheese. She counters cleave, and yeah, That's Lilibet. All right, where do you think Faithless Lidica lands?
I like her in A tier just because she's a solid counter to Aiden with her doesn't proc a crit or doesn't proc counter. Turning off skills, pushing units up, getting extra turns. I don't know. I still think she's a powerhouse unit.
I'm inclined to agree with you. I think Faithless Lidica is probably one of the best units that abuse the concept that I just mentioned, which is that you pretty much have no idea what kind of Faithless Lidica you're fighting against until you load in. Unless if you're kind of making hard reads on the units that surround her, right, in draft. Faithless Lidica, especially if you pick her within like the first to third positions in RTA, I think is so scary because I don't think that damaged Faithless Lidica was or is or will ever continue to be bad. I think she's still pretty good. And opener Faithless Lidica, I think, is also really strong. She's a ranger, so she can abuse Guiding Light in case you want to go down that route. But her essentially stripping, 2 buffs from the whole team if she crits and resetting 1, while also CR pushing 25%, while also not getting countered by her old counters, makes her pretty OP, I would say. I don't know if I would put her at S, but you can't really counter Faithless Lidica with General Purgus, right? You can just S3 something else. And even if you S3 General Purgus, I think you're still going 50-50 in terms of the CR push. So it's not even like a one-to-one counter. Angel of Light doesn't even counter her because she can just choose to S3 instead. I think the only unit that probably does really well against her still, where it really does feel like a counter, is either units that outspeed her, which is obvious because she's a 114 speed unit, or Politis when you have other anti-cleave units. Like, Politis definitely makes her feel a little bad, like not the worst because you can still S3, but a lot of times when you're fighting against Politis, I think you're probably in a bad position as a Faithless Lidica player. But regardless, I would also put her in A. Her damage is good. Her utility is kind of bonkers. If you read her kit and all she does, you almost would think that she's like 2 whole characters by herself. Almost like Briar Witch Iseria level in terms of skill description and skill ability. But yeah, I would say that Faithless Lidica is a very good unit.
I'd put her at the top of A. I mean, your only option is outspeeding her, and even Guiding Light makes outspeeding her not as useful.
Yeah. I think you basically say, even Sage Ball doesn't really counter her, which is kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
That's a bit wild. All right, here we go. Let's do Fallen Cecilia. What do you think about Fallen Cecilia?
Man, from great disaster to disaster.
What do you think?
I can't stomach putting her down there with Haste and Judge Kise, so I'm thinking stick her beside Closer Charles in the D tier. But she's a unit that if you pick, she can ruin your whole team with Barrier Inversion being out there.
Mm-hmm.
There are like at least 3, if not 4 knights that do it better, and they're 3-star free units. If I could recall and get my Mola back, I probably would, because it's just so sad, because she was like the best of the best, and now she's not only hard to use, she's practically suicide to pick her.
Mm-hmm. The inclusion or the addition of protection set, I think really did kind of kill off Fallen Cecilia. Obviously, if you're fighting against a cleaver, like, there's always room to pick Fallen Cecilia, in my opinion. But there's really no reason that you wouldn't pick Eaton or you wouldn't try and pick, Arrowell before her. Which at some point you just you have to start like reeling it in a little bit. Like, it starts like she's good mitigation, but at some point you're just trying to play Fallen Cecilia because there's no reason why you couldn't have protection set on another knight. I mean, honest to God, if you just had Armin on protection set or something, it probably is about as good, if not like equal to Fallen Cecilia. Eaton is actually probably the better version of Fallen Cecilia at the current moment. Skill Nullifier, though kind of good, usually gets stripped quickly, or you get unbuffable, which makes her not the greatest. The only advantage I can think of right now for Fallen Cecilia, as opposed to Arowell, who I think is her biggest competition, is simply the fact that, number one, you don't get barrier, unless if you are on unless if you're like a light unit for Arowell, and also the fact that Arowell's mitigation with Escort gets stripped. But the odds of you encountering both of those is not that high, or like encountering a problem with both of those conditions is not that high, because Escort usually doesn't get stripped, and or there aren't units that can really kill Arowell that quickly. So I would say, I don't know if I would put her in C. I might put her top of C, like maybe low B. It kind of depends. Because I think I could see a world where Fallen Cecilia is about picked as much as someone like Designer Lilibet. But I don't know if I am super sold on her either, because I definitely kill Fallen Cecilia units, or Fallen Cecilia teams quite often, even with Cleave. But yeah, I think that's fine. We can go back at the end and readjust all this stuff. But
Fallen CC's a unit that, I mean, if you pick Designer Lilibet, is there a unit that the enemy can pick that makes you think, oh, if I don't ban that, the fact that I drafted Designer Lilibet means my entire team dies? I mean, that's what happens with Fallen Cecilia. If you pick her, the enemy can pick units that will kill your whole team because of the unit you picked.
Fair. Okay. What do you think about LRK then?
Just to the left of Fallen CC.
Okay. Do you think LRK is better than FCC?
Substantially.
Okay, I see. That's actually kind of interesting, because I definitely feel like I see some more FCC, but I definitely don't see any LRK.
I don't see any FCCs and I don't see any LRKs, but I think LRK can actually win you some fights, whereas FCC can lose you fights.
I think, in my opinion then, because here's what I'm thinking, right? If it were I feel like you would maybe see LRK if you are more of a standard player, right? Like, I think LRK maybe, like, once upon a time you might have seen against like some Belians, or against like some like Remnant Violets, or against, some like Solitaria, some AoE stuff, right? And as a cleaver, you may see Fallen Cecilia if you decide to pre-ban Arowell, or if you're trying to tank down, or if you're trying to like beat up like a tank player. I think maybe you could see Fallen Cecilia. But I think that both of them in general are not that great, because there's probably a better unit than both of these units for countering what you're intending to counter, right? If you want something to counter like Solitaria, or if you want something to counter AoE, there's probably a better unit than LRK. And if you want a unit to counter like a cleave, you probably can find a better knight than Fallen Cecilia. So I think both of them, even despite them having strengths, like LRK's damage on S3, I don't think is bad, but he can definitely just get controlled and die. And the barrier can get like, stripped, unbuffable, etc., have what you want at it. Like, both these characters, I think, these three characters, unironically, might all just have to stick together. Because Closer is like the old, like this now power crept like cleave opener, right? That helped play cleave. Fallen Cecilia is kind of like this old knight like tank unit that you would probably like to pick against cleavers, but is kind of outdated now with Arowell. And LRK, I mean, if you wanted to counter AoE or Solitaria or some shit like SSB, you'd probably just pick Lionheart, right? So they're probably all about the same. They've just been like, they haven't gotten enough love. These three characters, I think, are probably some of the oldest, or now the longest ML5s without buffs. So I'd probably say the three are okay in C. Might be a bit controversial, like we'll see, but I think I'm okay with putting him in C.
I don't know. I mean, real talk, if you're a knight class and an ML5, you belong in D tier.
Wow, you think it's like that?
We're gonna scoot a handful of them into C tier just because they're a better knight class than the other D tier knights. But there are no knights that are ML5 that are worth drafting over a whole host of 3 and 4 star units.
Fair enough.
Oh, okay, Belian.
Belian's not like a mitigation knight. That's kind of cheating. All right. What do you think about Lionheart Cermia?
Um, I had her in S tier because of her great use in PvE, and then they changed Labyrinth and that fell away. I think she's really usable against some of the newer units. I like her in the A tier. I think she's very, very usable. A good solid counter pick, a unit that you really have to worry about that can do a lot of damage. And she doesn't compete for a lot of gear, so she's relatively easy to gear because she's not stealing gear from other units. I think she is a very solid A tier unit.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. Okay, it was pretty wild when we had her in the S tier. I'm not gonna lie. We got a lot of comments about that when we put Lionheart Cermia in the A tier. But I know that I'm gonna
buy the S tier until they changed so much stuff about PvE.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I would say Lionheart, I would put probably actually behind ADS at this point. I think she's definitely usable, but I think that Dark Corvus really kind of holds some of these units at bay. We'll get to Solitaria at some point, but I think Dark Corvus kind of holds Lionheart Cermia a bit back. I think that Lionheart Cermia also kind of just dies to Zahak, who I think has been a bit more prominent recently. Even though most people use, Zahak to kill evasion units, people kind of, I think, tend to forget that you also get the resource reduction from S3, right? I think, right? Do you still get it even if you, or do you injure? Okay, wait. I take that back. Sorry. I take that back. Wait. Never mind. Wait. Take that back. No. Wait. Forget that. Anyways, again, I still think that Lionheart Cermia is about A, again, like as I mentioned about Dark Corvus, because I think that with how often she's drafted in Standard against C. Lilias, who again is like the primary reason why Lionheart Cermia is even up here, she does kind of still get blocked out by Dark Corvus, like Knights in general. Like certain units also just beat the shit out of her, like Shu. Shu, for instance, I think is really good into Lionheart Cermia. And yeah, I would say low A is where I would put her. I don't think I could put her in B. I don't think you would put her in the same realm of DJB, Designer Lilibet, and D-Corv. But I definitely think she is a bit more niche than some of the other A characters. If Conqueror Lilias was any weaker, I would probably put her a little further back because you don't even see stuff like Remnant Violet anymore, which is what I think a lot of people used to use her for. But yeah, I think that's where I'd put her, Lionheart. What do you think about LQC?
LQC tier.
C tier?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. You think she's C tier.
What does she do that Aiden doesn't do better?
Mitt?
Okay.
Okay.
You're gonna take mid over an AoE gold shield for your team?
Here's my thinking. Briar Witch is now the best character in the game. Right? Not the best character, but one of the
Arguably.
best. Yeah, one of the better ML5s in the game, right? Now here's what I'm thinking. A lot of traditional answers to Briar Witch don't work, right? Or what you think would help you survive in Standard, like Destina, Ruele, like Maid Chloe, all these characters all die to Briar Witch, right? And the main reason why they die is because a lot of these characters rely on, okay, you debuffed me and like you unloaded all your S3s. I'm just going to press S3. Everyone's going to revive and the game's over, right? However, Briar Witch, right, while also countering Aiden, does not actually most of the time one-shot everything on the enemy team. It's usually Briar Witch plus another AoE unit that kind of cleans up the team, right? Like someone will run like Briar Witch Iseria and then Specter Tenebria, and then you just have like this Gatling gun of like damage, right? With like Soulburn S1 into S3, into Briar Witch uses S3, all these different things, right? But Mediator Kawerik, who's going to come later, I think is about to be pretty strong. Arguably, depending on how you feel about Mediator Kawerik into Faithless Lidica. And I think that if Mediator Kawerik is still that A-tier character that I know and love sometimes, amen, then maybe you can bring back Little Queen Charlotte. However, I will say that I would never put LQC in A, just because something else that you have to worry about when it comes to Little Queen Charlotte is Airwell, because you'd have to S3 or you'd have to endure like the Airwell just stunning you, right? So I don't know if I would put her as low as C, because I definitely think when it comes to dark units, like especially really like really tanky dark unit teams, like I would probably use LQC over Aiden just because I don't want to die to like a stray AoE from FCC. I would probably put her in B, but I don't know if I would put her like, because like think about these units, right? Are you saying that you would use Closer Charles equal to or less than LQC?
I think I'd reach for Closer more than I'd reach for LQC.
Wow, really? Okay.
Here's the thing about LQC, right? Does she do enough damage in this world of mitigation and tankiness? I mean, for you and me, sure, we put a ton of gear on her and she can blow things up. But the level of gear it takes to make a functional LQC versus the level of gear it takes to make a functional any other unit in A and B tier, I don't know, man.
Okay, I have made an adjustment. I have made this adjustment in my head. All 4 of the units that are literally in this tier right now have all been power crept in recent months by another unit. We can all agree on this. So, I'm going to leave her in C, because Little Queen Charlotte, as you just mentioned, has Aiden. LRK has other like AoE units that got like, you know, that can do better for countering AoEs. FCC also got power crept by, you know, by Arrowell and Eaton and all these other units. Closer Charles is an attack buff in a self-attack buff meta. So, I think it's okay to keep her. Maybe if you want to keep her at the top of C, I think that's fine. I don't think you can drag these 4 anywhere without taking all of them, though. Like, you cannot use, in my opinion, any of these units. Like, I would, honestly, I'm almost considering LRK to be, like, about, like, I'm almost thinking he's out of this trio, but, like, it's okay. I think all these units are pretty cope to use right now. C. I think LQC especially, though, is like, for people who haven't done the Aiden's, the Aiden specially changed quest line. But
remember, I mean, none of these units are bad, except for Judge Kise. They're ML5 units. They're good units, except for Judge Kise. We're just saying in relationship to each other. I mean, we could stick them all in A and B tier and call it a day, but we're not doing that. We're comparing them in relation to each other to help people figure out who they're going to pick from their headhunt.
All right. Sounds good to me. How about Maid Chloe?
I think razors are in a weird place, especially razors that rely on buffs to raise that can be stripped. Chat's not going to like me for it, but I think all the razors belong in the C tier. They're niche picks. They're not units that are, you know, going to be super useful in this day and age with units like Iseria and units like AOL. Well, Destina's not an ML5, but yeah, she would be an exception. But yeah, I just, they're not going to be first pick units. I don't think you belong in A or S tier if you're not first pick capable, and I don't think you belong in B tier if you're not a common reach for it staple unit.
Oh yeah, Dark Corvus also does punish a lot of the revivers. Someone mentioned that in chat. I that is definitely something really important to remember.
Revive block the thing. More and more units are getting extinction. I think units like Maid and Ruele are struggling a bit, and that's why I put them down there. Somebody's got to be in C tier, so it's going to be them.
Here's the only reason why, because we will get up to the point where we talk about Ruele and like we talk about razors and stuff in general, right? I think that the difference between someone like Maid Chloe, Ruele, and, you know, like the other revivers in the game is the fact that Maid Chloe also, like, Maid Chloe cleanses and gives you an attack buff and a revive buff, which, unlike a lot of the other revivers, like a lot of the revivers' main goals are just to either like like make one unit immune, or like revive the whole team, or like provide a buff that makes you revive. Which again, if you have Briar Witch, is like totally negated, right? But I think Maid Chloe sometimes, like if you have a team that can resist, you know, debuffs or something like that, I think Maid Chloe giving attack buff to say like Specter Tenebria or Landy or some units like this, Charlotte, I think could be a little bit more usable. All that being said, I think even though she heals, she can stun, she gives all her revive buffs, I would still probably put her in C. I would not clump her the same way that like Little Queen Charlotte, like LRK, FCC, and Closer are. But I think that she's probably also a C tier character. Maybe if you focus all your efforts into playing her, you can make her work. But now you have a lot of units who just innately extinct units, or have the ability to extinct, right? Like, you would probably have to steal someone like Briar Witch, or pre-ban someone like Briar Witch against a Maid Chloe, or if you're a Maid Chloe player, or you would probably have to take Milim from the enemy team. Like, there's so many, like, layers of things that you would have to do to make sure that you can't, like, so that you can revive a team. But yeah, I'm okay to put Maid Chloe in C. If you're okay, you said you'd probably put her in C too?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. 107. All right. ML Ken.
Okay, hear me out.
Okay.
I really want to put him in C tier because he is the quintessential definition of niche pick unit. If the enemy drafts in a way that lets you play him, he's a must ban or he wins you the fight.
Mm-hmm.
But the enemy has to draft in a way that lets you pick him.
Exactly.
He also takes a pretty high-end level of gear to make him viable in that.
Yes.
But when he is the right pick, he is the right pick, and he will win you so many fights if you can wind up in a draft where he's usable. Unlike the D tier, he will actually win you some fights. Judge Kise won't win you any fights.
Okay.
But Ken can. Not often, but he can. So I think Mr. Show You Who's the Best belongs up a notch in the C tier.
Okay. He
counters Arby, Potato. He hard counters Arby.
Okay. I'm going to all right. For as much as you would like ML Ken here, there are two things stopping me from letting you put ML Ken in C tier.
You just hate ML Ken. That's all.
That is not what I'm talking about. Stene is the best character in the game right now. Okay, number 1. And Ashamentor Elena just got buffed. Unfortunately, I can't imagine a universe where Specter Tenebria, Emma Elena, Faithless Lidica, Cavill, there's so many units in the game that say you cannot counter me. And it feels bad because I agree with you. I believe like that ML Ken definitely has a universe. Listen, I pulled him from my headhunt, okay? However, I think you would have to be a full AoE, you would have to be a low effectiveness cleave draft, or you'd have to be fighting against a low effectiveness cleave draft in order for you to make him work. So I would have to put, I don't think he's worse than some of these other units, but I also know that this character is kind of cope. I love him, and even my bias is showing by putting him above a Tywin. But
at least do that for me. Just put him in the front so that he can show D tier who's the best.
Okay. He is definitely the best. You're absolutely correct. Okay. All right. His damage is just not enough, and his S3 is not enough. The crit thing is fine. I just cannot see a world where I would put ML Ken in the same tier as Maid Chloe. Because one, you could actually someone like KHM, some players can make work, but I definitely, dude, some of these units, now that I look at it, man, some of these D tier characters maybe need to go down a little bit. I think we're gonna have to make an F tier at the end of this. Hold on, let's make this right now. Actually, hold on, this is Okay, if I'm just being honest, okay, these units have to go down to the F tier. And I'm not gonna lie, I think this is where we put the
Knights,
the fearsome 4. I think this is a bit more representative of the of how I feel about the E7 ladder right now. Emilken. All right, how about this? What if Emilken is F for freaking niche? What do you think? But everyone else is fucking bad. How about that? What if Emilken is freaking niche and everyone else is fucking bad? Does that sound good to you?
Whatever floats your boat, man.
Okay. All right.
I mean, okay. I won 2 fights with MLken. I mean, given it was in a lobby and it was versus a gold player, but I won 2 fights with MLken.
Okay. All right. In mock lobby, he is freaking awesome. Also known as F tier. All right. Okay. Any unit I don't own on this list is F tier. All right. Well, looks like Zio's gonna be. Oh wait, Zio's an excluded. Thank God. All right. Sounds good to me. All right. Here we go. Who is next? Oh my God, the man with the hand. Oh boy. All right. Here we go. What do you think, Tristan?
Oh, ML crap? No, F tier.
Whoa!
No, check it out, right? You use this S3, it's a non-attack skill. You activate winner, you get killed. You use this S2, it creates barriers. You get barrier inversion, kills your whole team. Op Sig hard counters them, Ning Ning hard counters them. You try to use the S1 to CR push, and everybody counterattacks you, and it wipes your whole team. This unit is literally unpickable.
Whoa!
And I'm lying, of course. Put him in S tier.
Okay. Oh my God, you have me on the ropes, bro. Let him cook. Okay. All right. Okay. I think putting him in S tier is understandable.
He still does so much.
Yeah.
I kind of agree. I'm back and forth on it. I still think he does so much, especially in Guild Wars, even in some PvE content. It's really hard pulling him down a notch. He literally does everything. He cleanses, he strips, he gives immunity, he pushes. He fits into just about every draft.
Okay, here's my problem with rating Mediator Kawerik right now. If Mediator does not have to encounter Arawell as much, I think he will be better. Yeah. Like if in a world where Arawell loses even 1% more priority, I think Handguy's S. However, Mediator gets countered so easily by Arawell and by barrier inversion, all this stuff, that a lot of times when you pick this character, you're looking at your buttons and I want to press these buttons, but I'm gonna get inverted, or if I use my cleanse early, AOL is gonna do it. He's gated by so many units right now that pressing the perfect button feels either really impossible or it feels really bad, right? You have to do it, right? You S3 and then okay, your Sylvan Sage is probably getting S3'd by Arawell, right? You press S3 and okay. Your Lionheart Cermia is now not taking a turn, or all these different units can basically get countered by Arawell. And though Mediator Kawerik is a good cleanser, probably one of the best cleansers in the game, his isn't fast enough or quick enough, or you end up playing a chicken game, or a game of chicken, which is not very fun either, right? With AOL and units that want to debuff you, it just feels kind of bad. I almost think she's I should say he. I almost think he's in A, but I don't know. I don't know. Someone is saying that Lidica, A, Ravi, DJB should be. I think, guys, you're skewing this a bit too high on where you're playing, right? I think that imagine across all levels of play, right?
if you're not an aggro or cleave player, Lidica is damn near useless to you.
Yeah.
Ravi, I'd be comfortable moving down a tier, but that's going to make people lose their minds.
Yeah, I agree. I think DJB just got power crept by Ning Ning. Like, I don't know if we're not fighting against Ning Ning, but like I think Ning Ning does a lot of what DJB wants to do, but more.
I was angling for DJB in A tier, but you know, Kana's right. Ning Ning really pushed him down a notch. So did losing the Soul Weaver speed boost. He's one of the few Soul Weavers that still sees play.
I mean, even damage and guiding light, right? Like, isn't Faithless Lidica only really as strong as like units like Hand Guy? I'm trying to think of who are you picking with who would you want to pick Faithless Lidica into as a DPS? Like I'm trying to think like because you would die to a lot of like, you know, you get reset, right? Unless if you're on immunity, but then even then, I mean, okay, if she's sleeper and she's like really S, and that's fine. But again, I mentioned this before, like high A and low S are not worlds apart. However, I still don't think that DJB is. Wait. I don't even know if Potato was arguing. Anyways, it doesn't matter. I think if we want to put Hand Guy in low S, I think that's fine. I think for the majority of people, I think Faithless Lidica is still in A. I don't think I could put her in S though, because I think there's only like, I know she's broken. Like, I use her and I feel like she's broken, but I know that there's not everyone that plays like that.
So who would you pull out of S tier into A tier to make room for Lidica? Who in there do you see as being substantially worse than Lidica? Because there's a problem where when you have a tier list, you want to have a nice bell curve to it. You don't want to have 9 units in S tier and then 6 in A tier. The whole point is focus on these units. They are must-have units. Your account will suffer if you don't have these units. That's S tier. These are gameplay changing, play style changing units. Whereas A tier is meta defining units. These are solid first pick, second pick units that you will reach for often. There's not a huge difference between A and S tier other than meta defining versus account defining.
Okay, here's the problem. If I do this, right? This doesn't look right. This does not look right. Especially because, okay, and here's the problem. Mediator, even in S, I think looks really odd because we don't know. Because, okay, I was just told that people are not playing Destina as much.
I'm agreeing with you more than disagreeing with you, Potato, but saying that Lidica has more impact than C. Lilias is, it's a lot of cope in that statement.
I think my main problem with what we're encountering right now, and like also what Potato's saying, is that I think Potato, like, there aren't enough people that play exactly, because I do think that if everyone were to play like Potato, like what he's saying is not wrong. I think Faithless Lidica can be really fucking good. Like, I think she's a very multi-purpose, like very versatile character. I just don't think people play exactly the way that he does. I would actually probably go out on a limb and say that he's right. I think that Faithless Lidica does more than Conqueror Lilias. I think that Conqueror Lilias is kind of shit, to be honest. If you're able to play Faithless Lidica. However,
I use Lidica way more often than I use C. Lilias. Like,
however,
10 times more often.
But the issue is, I think again, this is like a general tier list. I don't know if I could say that the average person would have more use out of Faithless Lidica than Mediator. Like, and the thing is, even if we want to put Mediator down here, like these 4 units, like pretty, like straight across, I think are super strong. There's no denying. If you pick any of these characters wherever you are, I think they're going to be really, really, really good. But the issue is that, like, Mediator Kawerik has so much, like, I almost don't even want to rate this guy, because honestly, like, if Destina gets knocked out of the meta, I feel like this character is going to go up. And I don't know if he is or isn't. And that's what's troubling me. What's up, Momo Moon? I don't know. If like, again, I would not die on a hill to be like bottom of A, like top of S. Like, Like I would not like die on this hill. If you think she's that good, like that's fine. But I don't think anyone should be like, oh no, they're A tier, they're shit, as opposed to, oh, they're S tier, you should pick them. Yeah, if you want to keep it like this, I think this is fine. It's so untested. I think these two could go like back and forth. I'll like make a disclaimer, just a disclaimer here if you're reading into this and if you're like actually watching through all this. Lidica and Mediator definitely feel like kind of weird. I don't know how the meta's gonna pan out, but I don't know. But that's Mediator. Holy shit, that was like 10 minutes.
Yako has a really good point too. The level of gear required to make a good hand guy versus making a good Lidica. It's a pretty huge disparity in gear quality to make good out of those units.
I actually don't know if I agree with that because Lidica's not even an imprint character. Like for damage, she's not even an imprint character.
I think.
Like a lot of people, like a lot of these characters you're looking up here, Specter Tenebria even, right? If you don't have her triple S, that character sucks a lot more than if she has triple S. Same thing, like Briar Witch, or not Briar Witch, well, actually Briar Witch, but like Belian. Imagine some of these characters without imprints, right? Lionheart Cermia without triple S looks pretty shit. So does Closer. Lilibet, a lot of these characters look really bad. Dude, that's 18, dude, you're losing 18% stat for free the second you try to build this.
I'll tell you what, let's appease chat for a little bit. Let's put Lidica and Hand Guy both in S tier, and then we'll come back and we'll look at all of S tier and jerk 2 people out of it.
Okay, fair enough. All right, that's fine. All right, okay, what do you think about Opsig?
I think she used to be A tier, but she's lost a bit of viability with other better options out there. I don't know. I'm putting her just as a solid A tier, or sorry, a solid B tier for right now.
Yeah,
she could be A tier, but she's very gear heavy and tough to play, and just better options.
I think the scenarios where you would be able to pick Operator Sigret are so ridiculously limited right now that I don't know where you would pick her. But the problem is that Opsig as a unit, in case if there's ever a barrier, will always be strong, right? Like she has Guiding Light, and the only thing that really stops you from dying as Guiding Light is an S tier character, right? Conqueror Lilias, or like AoE units that go before you, or like Milim, right? The problem is that I think a lot of people in the past used to do stuff like Conqueror Lilias and Opsig, but now if you have a barrier, I think a more common play is to go for, DJB, Ning Ning, or, maybe you just don't need to, maybe you just bust through the barrier. Like maybe you don't need the barrier, right? You could just have Cabal break the barrier itself and do enough damage to kill units that have barriers. Or maybe you just play slower, right? Which is what I think a lot of people who probably played Opsig have now relegated themselves to doing, right? You saw a lot of people more recently, instead of going Opsig, see Lilia, stuff like that, they'll go like the Stina, Specter Tenebria, and we'll see how stuff like that changes. Her damage is still really good, and the strip is really impactful, but I think rather than gamble on whether or not your Operator Sigret can S2 or is fast enough or will get knocked out or something, like will get an attack buff to kill, I think the safer play nowadays is to just go with Soul Weaver, or maybe you'll, but again, like that's kind of the fear of this tier list, is that like at this current moment, right, December 28th 2022, this unit just killed like half of standard, right? That's kind of a problem. So however strong Destina and stuff will be, we'll see. But one of the weaknesses of Operator Sigret is also that if you don't kill one of these Soul Weavers, they're just gonna revive them back. So I'm more than happy to keep her in B. Maybe like I would almost put her in C because she really is not that great. But rather than put her at the top of B, I actually think I would put her like next to D-Corv right now. It's really hard to use her, especially in RTA. If you want to argue for her in Guild War, even in Guild War, like I don't think anyone even plays barrier defenses anymore. Nowadays, all you see is that C Lilia Senya bullshit, which is really annoying because if they anti-crit you, or if they evade you, or they snow crystal you, Like the game's over. Like your OPSIG is now useless. I'm okay to put them in B. All right. Where do you want to do?
I forgot that you added a tier for Maid. You could move her down there. She's another unit that's hard countered by a brand new 3-star unit too. So
wait, did you say Maid?
Stick
Sorry,
Aiden in there, and you can't push buttons.
Wait, what? You said OPSIG or Maid?
Yeah, OPSIG. You can't push buttons if Aiden's there.
Oh yeah, my bad. I don't know if I let you go or not. Sorry, I was like going so long about it. So you think you would want to put her at C?
I mean, I didn't. You're the one that added the C tier because you didn't feel good about Maid chilling with the knights, slumming with the knights.
True.
I like her beside Dark Corvus, but
we'll see. We can move these later for like the final list. All right. How about Pirate Captain?
She's a tough one for me. She's the ML5 I don't have yet. So I can't speak from experience with her. Okay. She feels like a or a B tier unit from the way I've seen her used, but I don't like talking about things that I don't have experience with.
I agree with that. I think that's fine, but I think that this Pirate Captain character is fucking broken. Not S tier broken, but I think when you are trying to play slow, this character is a damn near must ban. She kind of feels like Solitaria in how irritating she is. Because what is there to counter Pirate Captain? Is it anti debuff? Because guess what? She's just gonna S1 something, and there's no longer a debuff. You're gonna pick Ed. You're gonna pick Designer Lilibet. All right, she's just gonna S1 shoot everything, right? Even Dark Corvus, right? I picked Dark Corvus into a lot of Pirate Captain Flans. He just got shot 5 times and then died. And that's like kind of the problem. I don't really know, like I don't play her that much, but when people are leaving themselves open to, if they want to play Destina and something and they have Briar and they have Pirate Captain Flan, nowadays you have enough effectiveness on Pirate Captain, or you should expect enough effectiveness on Pirate Captains to shoot the Destina and bomb the Destina. Which is why I think she's so crazy. But again, now that standard looks a little different, it's not entirely I'm not entirely positive if she can still handle units like Mediator Kawerik, who I think actually counters her, or counters her better than someone like Destina. But we'll see. She doesn't even activate Lionheart, which is something I learned the other day. She does struggle with Politis, technically speaking, but you're not picking Pirate Captain Flan into cleavers, so Politis is not really whatever. Yeah, you do need a plus 30 Iseria artifact, which is actually not a bad argument against this character, because if you don't land the bomb on the Destina, because of your effectiveness, that's one thing, but if you don't land it because your artifact is plus 15, that feels like shit. So I think she might be the best character in B, if not maybe the worst character of A, in my opinion.
I agree. I think putting any character in the usable everywhere tier when she requires a max limited artifact is a little suspect.
I agree. And she really does not work without, like, the versatility that I was talking about, like, about how, like, oh, okay, you pick Ed or Designer a little bit, you just S1. If you don't S1 and land a bomb, you feel like shit. And that's just truth. That's just the truth. What if on count? You should not go counter on this unit. Do not go counter.
I wish there was a way to delineate it. Better than a Ravi with the artifact, worse than a Ravi without it.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. Wait, can we duplicate it actually? Oh, we can. Wow, look at that.
Okay, nice.
Okay. Can I add a comment here? Well, it doesn't really matter, but with plus 30 artifact.
I mean, is she even B tier without the artifact?
Well, without plus 30, I think she's B tier. I think like plus 15, I would still say she's usable. Yeah, no. I'm not saying without the artifact. Like, let's be clear here. If you have 0 of Ciseria's artifact, this is not a real character. But if you are plus 15, if you're a plus 15 artifact, I think she's a B character because it's about like a 75% chance to land the bomb, which is pretty cope. All right, what do you think about Remnant Violet?
I think he's A tier on the right side of the screen and B tier on the left side of the screen.
All right, what do you like about Violet?
I used to have Violet in A tier, but we've got even more counters to him now. I don't know. I don't like casino units. I don't like relying on luck or RNG to win fights, and he just has. I don't know. You remember the failures, not the successes, right? And it feels like I've lost more games with Violet than I've won, and I know that's not true. It's just when I win a game with him, it's expected. Oh yeah, he dodged and killed somebody. What's what he's supposed to do? It's when he gets stripped on a 70% evasion, or he gets, one shot by Aiden with an S1 when he should have evaded, countered, and killed. You get tilted, and you remember that stuff, so he feels bad.
I agree. There's a lot of good points being made in chat too. You need max imprint to really feel the most out of him. Briar, which just got buffed. You can't pick him into Conqueror Lilias. Dark Corvus kills him through a miss. I mean, what else is there? Pirate Captain can land a bomb on him, right? A lot of characters nowadays too have hit chance, like not even built into their kit, but they just run hit chance artifacts. I think it would be disingenuous to put him in B. Because he definitely still has there are really good spots for Remnant Violet. Like, I think when people tried to pick Belian and stuff, I think Violet is still really good. And sometimes he's just a solid DPS. Like, sometimes you don't need to have the perfect unit against a perfect unit. But, like, sometimes Violet just is fine, right? And you know that he has a bit of bulk, and he won't die. However, Senya also beats the shit out of Violet most of the time, so that's something that kind of hurts for me. But I would argue bottom of B or bottom of A, top of B is also fine. Oh yeah, Zahak also kind of beats.
Yeah, I just lean towards top of B because I keep thinking, like, who doesn't kill him?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Milim also doesn't do that poorly against him, huh?
AOL doesn't do poorly against him. Iseria doesn't do poorly against him. Zahak doesn't do poorly against him.
Oh my god, and Solitaria also beats him. Shit. Yeah, maybe
he's like he is really, really powerful, and everything counters him.
Yeah, okay. Okay, he's probably top of B then. Yeah. That kind of feels bad. He now that I'm thinking about it, I think Violet, when you see Violet in action, I think that might be the only reason why you don't put him in C or D. Because realistically, he's cool, and I feel like we're biasing him a little bit, but I think ironically, he's like a C tier character. Because there's not actually that many scenarios where Violet is a better pick than any other unit in the game. Like, even that Soulburn shit, like, have you Soulburn Violet's S1 yet? I don't think I've ever Soulburn Violet S1.
I don't like play casino units. He's a do you feel lucky punk kind of a pick. He's the unit you pick, and your opponent stares at him and goes, do I feel lucky or do I ban this?
Okay,
and then about the game, most people are going to feel lucky and let him through.
Okay, I think if we could have pairings, I feel like Opsig and Remnant Violet are both together. Like, strong and, like, should be strong in a certain niche, but whether or not you'll actually see that niche ever happen is, like, really debatable. I think that's where this is where I would want to put Violet. But, okay.
Works for me.
Alright, here we go. 1, 36. All right, Ruele of Light. Oh boy, who the fuck is this character? All right.
Holding hands with Maid, same issues.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to put Ruele in D. I almost don't think she deserves being next. I don't think she deserves being in the same tier as Maid. I kind of feel like you can almost justify running Maid because you give the ER to the team, you get like the attack buff, and you can kind of like run Shamadras and run double Soul Weavers like that. But I think that Ruele has like nothing.
I had both of the Razors down there with the Knights, in my opinion. Knights that act like Knights and Soul Weavers that act like Soul Weavers just don't really have a place.
Man, she really like my problem, right, is that if you look at the ladder, you will find people that spam Maid Chloe. Like there will be people that pick Maid Chloe, right? Like granted they kind of take their whole account and build them around Maid Chloe, or like they play very slow, right? Very slow, methodical with these characters. But Ruele, like I don't remember the last time I saw Ruele. Like I've seen Maid Chloe like maybe 3 or 4 times on the ladder, where she's used to like set up as like an attack buff, or like you're pairing her with Sylvan Sage. But like Ruele is not the same tempo as Maid Chloe.
Oh,
right?
To be fair, I use Ruele all the time in Guild Wars after my Destine is dead.
Okay. All right. Ruele is in D. Okay. The heal is not enough. The revive is not enough. You saw 2 Rueles today in your eel. Hey, you know what, Atsu? Sounds good, man. We could put Ruele in S tier for has been seen by Atsu. Okay. Sounds good to me. All right. This is Ruele. All right. Let's see. 1. 8. Oh my god. The world's most frustrating and ugliest character. Okay, I'm going to take the lead with this. I think Sage Baal is an S tier character. I want to tear my hair out. I have had enough. This is the most... I think enough is enough. He has always been an A or B tier character, but there are few characters in this game that make you not want to play a playstyle. Like Belian is one of those characters. Man, Sage Baal is the other. Oh my god, you can't pick a unit. Like, you have to make sure your first unit has a way to disable him. You almost can't even run a cleanser, actually, to stop him, because he can just choose not to sleep that unit. There's so much flexibility. There's so much utility. He has the Yulha and Krau S3 of a knight. He has the sleeping and stripping of any mage or utility character that you want. He has the CR pushing of like Arrow, or not even better than Arrow, because every turn you don't take a turn, he'll just keep like CR pushing. If you are a master class or you're a good control player and you have a good grasp of your account, Sage Baal is probably one of the most essential units that you can use to climb, because you'll encounter cleavers, you'll encounter aggro players, you'll encounter anything under the sun, and Sage Baal probably counters them. This is like arguably the most disgusting unit that Smogate has not touched in a long time. I'm not saying he needs a nerf, because he kind of keeps cleave under control and like speed units under control, but goddamn, the only way to beat this character is to out-imprint him with someone like Peyra, which is disgusting to say. Truly and wholly. Tristan, you can go, but I'm not gonna lie. I don't know where you put him. You can put him in A or B, but I think I'll bite the bullet on this. I think this is an S tier character.
Okay, do me a solid real quick. Just move him down to A tier for a minute.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so Sage Baal, what the hell are you thinking, Kana? Why do you have this unit in A tier? This is an S tier unit.
Okay.
I think everybody in chat can agree that you're being ridiculous putting him in A tier. Get him out of there. Put him where he belongs in S tier.
Okay, all right. Now let me be clear. I went on my whole spiel about how disgusting this unit is. I would not say he is more OP than a lot of the other characters because you cannot just first pick him, right? You will die in standard if you just first pick Sage Baal. You will die to people just picking like Ed and Designer Lilibet, like Remnant Violet and stuff like that. However, your face, your feelings, your mood, the atmosphere, everyone that is looking at you, your opponent, your mom, your parents, everyone that is looking at you as either Sage Baal gets picked on the enemy team or as you pick Sage Baal are all disappointed because there is now this chokehold on the match because no longer are you enjoying the match and no longer is the opponent enjoying the match. You are just playing this match with this ugly son of a bitch who just... And the game is over. Your dreams are over. Your desire to play Epic 7 is over. You play that match, you go to the next match, and it's over. That's it. However, he is not better than any of the other characters. I would definitely still put him at the bottom of S. I don't know if I would put him below Faithless Lidica and Mediator Kawerik, mainly because both of them counter this character. If you're using them properly. But he no longer is he an A tier character. He's S. He is S. And I have had enough. All right, what do you think about Silverblade Aramintha?
I think she's gorgeous. She's got one of the best animations. She got me my very first champion border, and she is just damn near unplayable in today's meta.
Yeah. Okay. I will do you a favor, Tristan, in honor of what we were mentioning before about ML Ken. I will not put Silverblade Aramintha at the top of F tier because she is, she's really unpickable. There is one person I believe that had been trying to outgear everyone and outspeed everyone by picking Cerise and Jacko and picking Silverblade Aramintha, but she might actually be the worst control unit released in probably, or the not released, but the worst existing control unit left in the game. She's okay for, what was that one nightmare thing I was doing? Who is it? Archon, Devour Archon or whatever, the top left boss in Nightmare Raid, but
And you know who's better there? A free specialty change 3-star unit.
Yeah, Carrot is probably better. Okay, maybe Arby has some world of use over Silverblade Aramintha. I'm okay to keep Silverblade just above ML Haste because I think both of them are decent uses in A13 and Nightmare Archon or whatever, Devourer, but both get outshadowed or basically outdone by every other. Okay, anyways, that's enough. This character sucks. Don't pick this unit. All right. Let's go to the next character. Oh, baby. Here she is. What do you think?
She was an S tier until, of all things, Corvus got his buff. I still think she might be an S tier, but I don't know. She is a terrorist unit, and she can dictate the entire flow of a match.
Okay, here's my problem with Solitaria. Solitaria, and every time that I'd seen good Solitaria's pick. Okay, as the person that roped another content creator, right, with this character, all right, I would say that her main usage is in standard, okay, but also her main usage was to bypass what most people's expectations of the character were. So what I mean by that is that I used to pick Solitaria to beat the people that tried to out-sustain me with Soul Weavers. Now, the thing is, if Soul Weavers are about to die or like clean drive out of the meta with Briar Witch, the real question is, when are you going to pick Solitaria? Because Solitaria does not do very well if she doesn't have a stable like tank team around her, right? You don't really have enough to protect Solitaria if you're not using Knights and if you're not using Soul Weavers, right? If I'm going to pick Cavil into your Solitaria, you're dead. Like that, the match is over. If I am picking Briar Witch into Solitaria and I outspeed you with my Briar Witch, or like if I set up like a scenario where I'm playing aggro and I kill you, you're dead because you're dead, right? Because I killed you. Anyways, so Solitaria might not be a B tier or C tier character. She might very well be an A tier character. But the question is, when are you going to pick her? Because if your argument is that you're going to pick her into ADS and Remnant Violet, that's cool. But how often are you going to pick either of those characters?
You know what? Blessedly, a lot of people haven't wrapped their brains around yet is, have you played much Winter and Solitaria together?
I have not, but that doesn't sound fun to fight against. I'm gonna be honest.
Horrible. It's disgusting. One, Solitaria is over here requiring you to spam cleanses, and Winter's over here punishing you for spamming cleanses. And both those SOBs are stealth the whole fight.
Yeah, I don't think we're picking Soul Weavers anymore, guys. So, I'm hesitant to put her below. Pirate Captain, because I think
top of the A tier, if not the bottom of the S tier.
Wow, really? Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't drop her to B. I'd stick her at the top of A.
Injury Solitaria beats Dark Corvus. Is that true? That sounds really fucking cope. There's two. Yeah. Well, the two Pirate Captains are because one is plus 30 with a plus 30 artifact. I do genuinely think she's an A tier character. If you have it at plus 15, I think she's actually a different character.
If you don't have the artifact at all, then she's like
not a real character.
Or Judge Kise.
Might as well be excluded. All right, you know what? Honestly, like this is kind of a meme, but like really, like wholly and genuinely, without Iseria artifact, like this is unironically not a usable character. And we'll make that disclaimer. Like I'll put that literally at the very start of the video. Like, if you don't have Iseria's artifact, do not pull for Pirate Captain Flan. I cannot stress that enough. This is not worth it. Okay. All right. DJB is relatively easy to build and is really impactful on whatever playslot. I don't think he's B.
And he's outpaced by a RGB 5-star.
Limited, but I agree. No, I don't know, man. I don't know, Potato. I really can't see myself putting DJB higher than B. Like, even in standard, like if you early pick DJB in standard, you're like, what the fuck are you doing?
I originally had him in A tier, but Kana talked me off that ledge down into B.
I don't know. The thing is, like DJB versus Zio, like if you're picking Zio into DJB and you're not wait. Let's pause for a second. Right. If I'm reading this right, I think I'm understanding where Potato's coming from, which is that there's no argument that Zio is one of, if not the most like OP characters in the game. Right. First picked, banned, like pretty much either you first pick or you ban the character. If he was pickable, you would probably pick Zio. I think everyone agrees with that. Okay. However, right, the problem with Zio is that there are people who will pick stuff like Lyca, Lua, and Specter Tenebria, all these characters that can't be hit. And then what you have to do is you have to hit a unit that punishes you for hitting them with Zio, i.e. General Purgus. You'll fight against like, you'll hit Aiden, or you'll hit against like a unit that DJB can then like Eternus off of, right? If you're not familiar with what Eternus is, when there's a debuff on the enemy team, or when there's a debuff on your team, DJB will cut up or gain CR because there's a debuff on your team and Eternus pushes you up. So then you would then cheese and you S2, S3 and you cut up, or you just S3 and cut up. this is kind of the draft that I think, or this kind of thinking against Zio is where Potato is gaining this, or it feels this strength from DJB. However, I offer the same thing that I've said 100 times. There has to be an answer to that, because you can only get cheesed by that sort of draft for so long, right? Like you can't simply just get cheesed by guiding, like by like Stene and 4 guiding lights, or by Stene and like 3 guiding lights plus G-Perg. Like if that's really how everyone plays and there's no answer to it, then okay, then maybe DJB is an A tier character, but that feels so crazy. Because it's literally like getting cheese. Like if you pick Zio and you see Leica, Lua, and Stene, then what you should really be saying is that Zio sucks balls. But like in regular builds, right? And again, we can like edit this out or whatever we can do. But like in general, I feel like DJB does not provide this, is not as versatile without a pretty like firm game plan in mind of how you want to play, as opposed to, okay, I'm just gonna like pick ADS here, or like I see Lilias here, I'm just gonna pick Lionheart Cermia. I just like can't see that. The same thing with like ADS and Solitaria and APOC, like who are above DJB. If you want to argue for some of the characters being put down, I would maybe agree, but I just can't see that. Like, I don't know why. Okay, anyways, who are we doing? Solitaria. I think Solitaria, she's got the stun, she's got the self-protection with like the barrier and staying stealth 24/7. Her counters are not that obvious. I feel like one of her only counters is something like Rowana or Lionheart, but those aren't even always necessarily counters. And I don't know. Like I think maybe I would like to put Solitaria in the same, like probably smack dab in the center of A, because I feel like she's very similar to when you would pick Cermia and ADS. Especially now, because you can't just slam units like ADS, Solitaria, and Lionheart without fear of getting countered by another unit like, Dark Corvus or Shu or like Solitaria into ADS, right? Which is why I think for them being mid-tier DPS or like neutral DPS, I think that they all have to be kind of next to each other. So I would put them in A. Again, not that much lower than S. But I think, like, as you guys will see, Solitaria is not going to be picked nearly as much, just because Soul Weavers aren't going to be as prevalent. And I think you're just going to see much quicker tempo matches. But that's Solitaria. All right, here we go. We're almost done. 150. All right. Oh my god. All right, Spez. What do you think, Tristan?
Spez, I'd like to be higher than he is, but he's just not playable.
Yeah. He might.
I think he goes down another tier. There you go.
He might be.
So here's the issue with Spez. He needs an entire team built around him to work, and that entire team needs to rely on debuffs.
Yes.
So you need to hope the enemy team doesn't have auto cleansing like AOL or Tywin, that they don't have fast cleansing. And like DJB, that they don't 15% your stuns, and that your Spez actually gets a turn.
Yeah, and then there's always the argument of, do you have enough damage? Do you have enough health? Like, are you stealth? Are you not stealth? Like, would you rather get hit? Do you not get hit? Because any world, in my opinion, where Spez gets through and is allowed to do what Spez is intended to do, either means you drafted poorly or like you gear gapped someone, right? That's the only universe I feel with this character.
And there's a side problem in that nobody seems to know how to build Spez. Everybody that I've seen builds him stupid. Spez needs 2k attack and 200 crit damage, and he still one-shots pretty much any unit in the game that's stunned. I mean, 200 crit damage, not 300, not 250, 200 crit damage, and only like 2200 attack. Stick it in the damage calculator with a stun, and look what that does. I mean, it's going to do like 28, 29k damage. It's going to take care of just about anything. So you can put all those stats into speed. You can put him on an HP neck, a defense ring, and speed boots, and he'll still one-shot just about any unit in the game that's stunned. That doesn't address the underlying issues of the insane amount of setup it takes to make him work. Yeah. But I see a lot of people like overgear the hell out of him. They're like, oh, my Sez is too slow. He never gets to take a turn. Oh, he's too squishy. He dies too fast. Well, you've built him stupid.
I will say, yeah. I will say for what a lot of people try to do, I don't know if this is their... Look, I can't speak for these people, but when I try to play Spez, when I built my Spez with high damage and speed, the idea was to kill something without the stun. That's where I was coming from, which is why I had damage in mind. I will say, though, that you do overkill by about, like, maybe 80% if you have damage stat on him, which makes no sense. But
if you're going to kill without the stun, why not use a whole host of other units?
Exactly. That's perfect. You explained it perfectly. Why not use another unit? Exactly. Perfect. All right. Yeah. Spez in F tier. I mean, self-explanatory. Not enough. It's not that he doesn't have enough damage. He has no way to protect himself to like either get the turn or prevent himself from losing his turn. Doesn't have enough health to be like a bruiser where you could reliably get out your S3 or do what you want. I think just in general, probably an F tier character. Prove us wrong, right? I know I'd love to fucking see Spez. All right, how about Spirit Eye Celine?
Tell you, some people live and die by this unit and think she's the best thing since sliced bread. I think she's probably one of the prettiest units in the game. Her art's amazing, but I think she is just really hard to use, especially with all of the you can't raise anything anymore. I wouldn't put her higher than B. I would think about putting her in C.
I think she just got power crept by Winter.
She's a unit that's going to continue to get power crept too.
Yeah.
Just the fundamental way that she works, she is only going to get worse until she's buffed.
In my opinion, there are like 5 other thieves that you could put on Secret Storm that would have more impact than Spirit Eye. I think you could very easily put Aiden on Secret Storm and you would be better than Spirit Eye, in my opinion.
Anybody that's listening, do not put your Aiden on Secret Storm. I hate that crap. Don't do it.
That's what I'm saying. If you just did that with your Aiden, the game is probably over. In the same vein that you would use Spirit Eye with Secret Storm, you can now do on Aiden and every other character.
If you put Storm Sword on your Aiden, that is the reason you do not get invited to parties.
Okay. I don't know if I would even put her in C. I'm hesitant to put her in C. I'm almost about to put her in D. Because with Iseria, now there's really no reason to pick her. Landy is no longer a bad unit, so I think she kind of also kills. You can steal and stun and kill her with Pirate Captain. And Solitaria strips her. You can seal her with Archdemon. APOC is not as popular. Like, Faithless Lidica could reset her. Like, I can almost see... Like, I think I would put her in D. But, like... Dude, I'm not gonna lie, Tristan. I'm almost thinking this, man. I'm not gonna lie. I'm almost thinking this.
I'm feeling it. If not for Guild Wars, it's really hard to use her.
Like if one man is the only person that's able to play Maid Chloe, does that make her good?
I mean, if that yellow tier is niche use. You know, you pick her only in very specific situations. That, I mean, how is that not Spirit Eye Celine?
Okay, cause then all the healers have to feel like this.
All the healers do feel like that.
I'm not gonna lie. In RTA, all the healers really feel like this, though. I'm not gonna lie, man, dude. Like. Cause it's like, okay. I'm okay. I'm content with this. C tier is for like super niche, like even more niche than fucking Operator Sigret. Like C tier is like, you've got these units at 450 gear score. Like you've played these units 100 times, and you know the perfect moment where someone picks like full or like full cleave, or if you know that you're about to get their ass with this Spirit Eye Celine that has fucking Secret Storm on, or this Maid Chloe is not gonna get bombed by like the Iseria, or not gonna get provoked, or some shit like that. Like that's how crazy. Like C tier would probably be where I put someone like Luna. Like honestly.
Yeah. Chat, C tier is Kana tier. Okay, C tier is where Kana puts units, but he's just not emotionally equipped to put them down there with Class Rider Krau and Charles. So that's C tier.
Okay. All right. Tier. Okay. All right. Okay. How about strays?
Okay, so strays is B tier for RTA and A tier for PvE. So I kind of stuck him in A tier just because of his one-shot hunt capabilities and that he is still a decently strong pick. If we're looking at just RTA, he doesn't belong in A tier. But if we're looking at the whole picture where you can use strays outside of RTA, I think he gets to be an A tier.
I think
being able to one-shot literally every single hunt in the game is so comfortable.
I would agree with you. Honestly, if we're talking about PvE, I actually think he's S tier.
Yeah, just PvE S tier, just RTA B tier.
And we saw that new like whale one shot, right? So he's actually the best in slot one shotter for every single hunt in the game now.
Yep.
That's like inarguable, which is actually crazy. Here's the problem. In RTA, the name of the game right now is self-attack buffing. That's like actually the name of the game. Every high tier DPS either kills without an attack buff or self-attack buffs. Now here's the thing, right? You might say that strays kills all these units like Arrowell, FCC, etc., with his S3. However, I raise you this. Actually, I don't know. Wait, I think I would put him in A actually for RTA. I'm thinking about this now. When you have strays, right? He kills Arrowell in one hit. You can't pick Armin into him, right? And the only way that you really tank him down is if you use Trozette. But then you have Trozette. Like what? Like if you are in a position where you can 4th or 5th pick strays, that shit's getting banned every game. The only thing that you are limited by is if someone anti-cleaves you with speed. But that's not even strays' purpose at all. Like that's like saying, oh, okay, well I picked Iseria into someone that's faster than me. Like you could almost make the same argument for Briar Witch. So I actually think it would be better, right, for you to maybe put him at the bottom of A? I don't think I would put him in B. I think he's about as good as a Pirate Captain Flan with a +30 artifact.
I think he's a solid mid to high A. I mean, he is one of the few ML5s that if you pull a second one randomly, you're pretty okay with that. Because you get to have one for RTA and one for hunts.
Yeah. I would also say that in general, him having not only the ability to one-shot pretty much any knight in the game, but also give himself immunity or invincibility while also being able to strip on S2 and S1 CR push yourself on every time that you basically take a turn off cool or while your S3 is on cooldown. That makes him kind of a good unit. Not to say that he was bad before or even before we were making this tier list, but I think because of how often people were trying to counter with, like BBK, Kayron, he was actually kind of good into those units, right? You get to strip if you have higher attack buff, or if you have higher attack than the Kayron or the BBK. The only thing that would, I unironically think I would probably put him in the middle of A the second that a second symbol of unity comes out. Like I would probably run that strays into like Aiden and shit like that. Like and kind of just accept my death or just run that shit in, because you can kill pretty much anything in the game. Like APOC isn't even that popular anymore. You don't care about Belian really as strays. Yeah, I would put him in low A. That's where I would put him.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. 206. All right. All right. It's time. SSV. How do you like this character?
I think she does similar kind of damage to Lilibet. She's got really good. I mean, that crit damage buff is nasty for the team. Her mitigation is great, and she's a DPS unit that heals. We have so few damage dealing healers. I think she's really high in the B tier, and if you've got really good gear, she could slip into the A tier.
I know I'm gonna get clowned a little bit for this. I agree with everything that you're saying, and I just want to kind of touch on that last thing you mentioned, right? High gear score. If you're not familiar, like just really good gear is what gear score means for people who aren't familiar with it. I think if you have her on ER, she becomes an equal to, if not better than, Pirate Captain, like Lionheart Cermia and Stray's unit. But I think there are so few people in the game that can do that I think that on average she is low B or top. Low A, top of B. If you can't get stripped, like if you can't be stunned by, or if you have like a chance to resist a stun from someone like Airwell, I think you're really, I think you're in a really good spot. Like if you can't get, you can't get maid stunned randomly, or if you can't get like provoked by Fallen Cecilia, I think you run all the way the fuck up. Like Yulha too, like if you can't get provoked by Yulha, I think you become a much better character. But I don't know how many people have the capacity to run gear like that, because it's really hard. Because what you're asking for is like 100 ER on your Sylvan Sage, while still having like, all the tankiness, the bruisery that you need on the character. It almost feels like the most gear intensive character on this list. And you must also have max imprints on her. So I would say she's probably top of B, low A. Sorry, not to hijack what you were saying. So do you have any other thoughts on her?
I think the people that are going to look at this list are probably going to be in the gear level that she needs to be in the B tier. Mm-hmm. The people that can gear her in such a way that she's in the A tier only look at tier lists to disagree with them. True. Not wrong. Need plus 30 chatty. I actually think her best artifact is Roy's artifact, in my opinion. I think chatty's a bit cope. I think you should just have enough mitigation and heal that you don't get hit twice, basically. Okay, that's Sylvan Sage, and the final unit to go through before we kind of shake out the tier list a little bit. Where do you want to put TML? Man, here's a unit that we all thought was going to be like S tier a few weeks ago. Yep. But she's not fast enough to be an opener. She's not strong enough to be a nuker. Mm-hmm. She's not tanky enough to bruise. The extinction doesn't matter for crap if you can't kill things with it. I am pound for pound very disappointed and unimpressed with what used to be my favorite character, TML. For just like, I don't know, good times 2 years ago and nostalgia, I'll keep her in the B tier.
I think I would agree. I think she is the worst character in B. And I think everything that you said holds true about her. I think what's wrong with her is that, like, statistically, I would have thought that with either the crit chance imprint that she got changed to, or with the speed buff that she got, she would be able to outspeed things more reliably. But no one ungeared Ran. No one ungeared Acid. And most of the time, if you are one of the people that can outspeed, or if you're a speed player, you're probably getting outsped on TML by someone's Leica or their Lua, which is not a very good feeling. It is quite the opposite. I think she's probably one of the most like underwhelming buffed characters that I've seen in recent times, where I had previously been very excited for them. She basically just does nothing. Most of the time you can't press your S2 unless if you're pre-banning Politis, which is not something that you can usually afford to do right now. And if you can, play TML, you are at the mercy of Sage Baal. And barring, again, there's like one person, like one content creator, like Kenny, who plays TML, and he's like literally 327 ran or like 325 ran. And even for his account, TML does not look broken. It looks fairly 50-50. Like really 50-50. Like it does not feel good. It does not feel great. It's not even satisfying, to be honest. She has such a nice looking S3, but it actually feels like one of the most underused or like underwhelming parts of her kit. Because I'm just sitting there like, why the fuck isn't my S3 like nuking something and extincting something? The other thing too is that the characters you would try to extinct, right, like, are just not going to be picked into a TML. Right? You're going to fight Sage Baal. You're going to fight Armin. You're going to fight all these other characters who had no intention of being extincted anyway. Or if you kill, like, the extinction is just extra. So I think she'd probably, controversial take, but she needs like another damage buff or something if you even want her to be usable. And yeah, I think she's bottom of B. I dare say she's like almost top of C. Because I think anytime
not saying let's swap her with Closer, to be honest.
She is just better Closer, and Closer is literally like what's the the little thing that floats around in the desert? What is that thing called? The tumbleweed. She's Closer is already a tumbleweed kind of character, and TML is not far behind, which is unfortunate. But yeah, that's TML. So let's do like our final like moving around of the characters.
We have one more in S tier than we have an A tier, and that just aesthetically bothers me. So we should pull one of those down. Any suggestions? Chat, have any suggestions?
Like moving a character down from the S tier.
We can leave it. I just don't. I don't like tier lists that don't have a nice bell curve to it. To have more S characters than A characters feels weird. What's the point of an S tier if there's more suggestions in an S tier than in an A tier?
Where would you rank the excluded if they were available? Okay, here we go. Here we go.
I don't know if Potato's still here, but if Potato's seeing chat, he can see it's not just me and Kana saying that.
Anyways. Nah, Cavill is probably still like a high S tier character, but I would not. Pull down Lidica and Baal. They're both ugly.
Hey, Lidica?
Wait, okay. Here. If you pull down Lidica, you have to pull down Mediator. In my opinion. I think if you're gonna pull down Lidica, you have to pull down Mediator, because I think their strength is huge. Like, I could be okay with a tier list that looks like this. Belian, I would not say, because Belian's strength is directly correlated to how strong Stene is, and Stene is first pickable in every game. Every single game. Every single game, if there's not a Specter Tenebria, I would gift a sub. No cap. You can't hear Tristan and TwitchPod. All good. I have this recorded. I will be uploading it with my editor later. Oh, and her ugliness? Dude, Belian is not ugly. Belian is pretty. Belian looks like a damn supermodel, for real. Belian is literally not a unit because she's either pre-ban or post-ban when she matters. Okay, but that doesn't take away from her strength. Because you could almost argue that about see Lilias when she was getting first picked or banned every game, but she's still really OP. Belian is still OP. Yes, she is. Yes, she is, Atsu. Oh my god. This character is so ugly. Oh my. Ugly in playstyle. Yeah, it's just, you cannot underrate a character who has so much influence on like the playstyle and mentality and point of view or like draft philosophy of players and not include her in S. I think it's just too much. You just can't. And so if Stene was like maybe the bottom of S, I would say, okay, maybe we put her in A, because Stene is the best book, will probably always be the best book beholder in the entire game. However, since she is now probably the best MO5 in the game, you put Belian at the top, or you put Belian in S.
Agreed.
Are we doing oh my god, an artifact tier list would be so hard, man. Artifact tier list is, do you have it? Good. Praise the Lord, bro. That's the whole tier list. Thank God. Like, oh my god. Is Secret Artstorm a good artifact? Yes. It is much better at plus 30, but yes, it is a good artifact. But yeah, this is fine. Okay. Tristan, is there anything that you would... Is there anyone within a tier that you feel like does not belong in that order?
It's really hard for me seeing Kawerik not in S tier. But I understand your reasons for it. I think Sage Baal should be in S tier. If you're wanting to get into RTA and you don't want to just lose to certain comps, Sage Baal is just so necessary.
So here's the problem that I have with Mediator, is that if you have literally anyone that plays Arrowell,
yep, I know, and
he is I'm right there with so bad, like unironically unusable. Like, you just buffed a team that is just going to get stripped.
Yeah, I like the look of it better. I think Celine and Maid chilling there together in an entire tier by themselves feels a little strange, but I understand your reason for not wanting them to be above or below.
Yeah, there's 3 pirate captains here. Here's the reason why pirate captain's pretty much, I think, might be the only unit that this applies to. If you don't have pirate captain's artifact, do not pick this unit. I repeat, I will put a disclaimer on her section. If you don't have pirate captain, if you don't have C-Series artifact, do not pull for Pirate Captain Flan. This is not a usable character. Like, unusable. Do not, I repeat. Now, if you have her artifact at plus 15, you can use her as a B tier character. Sometimes you'll land the S1, but if you are trying to debuff Soul Weavers, for instance, right? And you S1 instead of S3ing because there's an Ed or someone on the team, guess what? If you don't land and stun the Soul Weaver, you're probably dead, right? That reliability is why giving her a plus 30 artifact puts her at the bottom of A. So if you have her at plus 30, I think she's A-okay. I think she's pretty good. If you don't, I think she drops quite a bit. Do not pull her. Do not. I'm not responsible for what you guys do if you pull up with Pirate Captain Flan and she has no artifact. This is not my fault. I am hands off on this, okay? I've given you that.
If you pull her without that artifact, then she is the top of the lobby meta and just sitting there waiting for summer.
Yes, exactly. I think Briar Witch is about equal to Belian. Would you agree? I think they can go back and forth, right? They both kind of change. Like, you literally can't play Revivers or any revive playstyle with Briar Witch, and you can't play with Souls with Belian.
In my opinion, we've only scratched the surface of how broken Briar is going to be, and it's just people are going to realize it more and more, and she's going to be a problem for a lot of people. I think right now a lot of people are like, well, what do you mean? She doesn't deserve to be that high, and they just haven't experienced it yet. Give it a few weeks. I mean,
I can already imagine what my thumbnail is going to be for this tier list. It's literally going to be S tier and Briar Witch. Oh my god, I already know. Okay, anyways, how about A tier? Do you think these are all this? Do you think this is fine?
Yeah, I mean, you could argue moving Ravi up or down a little bit, but I think it looks good.
Yeah.
I find Solitaria kind of counters Ravi. But, you know, again, you're relying on debuffs, so there is that.
I do kind of feel... fuck, she's so bad, man. Like, she is so bad.
She's a great cleave anchor. She's a solid 4th or 5th pick. She's really good when she's drafted, but if you can't first pick her anymore.
Like, Aiden is in every fucking match, man. Like, it is not real to pick APOC anymore. Like, I'm not gonna lie, Tristan, when someone picks APOC, I unironically think free win.
Aiden one-shots pretty much anything, but even Aiden won't shot a 26k Ravi on proof. When you've got a unit that is almost impossible to one-shot, that's a good unit. Almost impossible to one-shot, and she self-heals.
Pirate Captain's Flan is in different locations because she has different artifact levels on. Here's the problem, Potato, about saying, like, I know what the meta is today. What we play is not what everyone will play. Like, and I'm not even talking about people in Bronze. Like, there are probably people in, like, Champ or Low Emperor that don't see any of what we see. And I will be honest, climbing back up through Emperor into Legend, there were a lot of things I did not expect to see. Like, Opener Kayron, because KJ did that a few times. Like... that's not real. First pick Belian a few times. Not that real, but I did see that 7 times yesterday. What was the reason for DJB that low? Did he fall off? I think that in order to play DJB properly, you have to be very experienced. Oh, this is what I'll change my argument to. For DJB to be A, I think you should be able to pick this unit without thinking too hard about it and be able to, like, just operate him, right? I think that is a common trait with a lot of A characters, right? Characters in the A tier. DJB, you have to have, depending on your build and the way that you're picking him and the position of where he is in your draft, you have to be very careful. Because I don't think you're picking DJB on 4. I feel like a lot of people are picking DJB on 2. Like 2 and 3. But you have to have an idea of what you're going to be doing with that DJB. Like, are you on a Turnus? Are you trying to counter Zeo? Are you trying to punish people that are trying to, like, to debuff you? Because then these are all conscious decisions you have to make. And then you need to know how to play the rest of your draft with your DJB built like this. And the sad truth is that I don't see DJB anywhere near as much as I would have seen him before, unless if I see him against Zeo.
There's also nobody... Sorry,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I said there's also nobody in A tier that I would swap down to make room for DJB to move up. I just don't see anybody in A tier.
Well, technically, Pirate Captain's twice, but...
yeah, but still.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I kind of agree with you. I think all the A tier characters are pretty nice. I think they all kind of fit in. I don't think, like, for as much as I would want to put A Ravi at B, A Ravi is not, while she is not OP, guys, she is the line, okay? If you are a shit character, if you are, like, any character that is below, like, B, you will fucking die to APOC. Like, 99.99% of the time. Like, that is just the truth. You pick Arby, die to APOC. You pick A Tywin, you're probably dying to APOC. If you pick SBA, like Spez, a lot of these characters, there is a comp involving A Ravi that will kill you. I promise. Like, it is just the truth. Like, that is just simply the truth. Yeah, Spirit Eye Celine is the exception, but, you know, not the average. In any case, everything else below this, I think, is about fair. I should really have in quotations here like Tristan bias, because I really don't think this character is usable. But none of the characters in F are really usable. Yeah.
How's it look if we push Lidica up to the bottom of S tier and stick DJB in her spot?
Say again?
How's it look if we push Lidica up to S tier and then slide DJ up to the bottom of A tier? Yeah.
I'm more okay with this than what we had before.
I'm not hating it.
Yeah,
and I'm trying to be fair with Lidica, but she's one of my most used units.
That's why I'm trying to push back. I'm almost trying to.
I'm really trying to make sure my personal bias isn't pouring through, because of all of the units that you have in the S tier up there, with the exception of Iseria, Lidica is my most drafted unit.
Okay,
she might be tied with Iseria for most drafted.
Yeah, I literally pick her every game. Like, if they did another one of those, like, you know, like the data charts where you get to see who picks what, this is probably like 85% of my matches, Faithless Lidica. Because I will play Lidica even if Green Sid is banned.
Okay, so I tell you what, do that. Move Maid up beside TML and move Celine down beside Ruele. And kill that middle tier.
Oh my. Oh, wait, son. You would just say this is C?
Yeah, like that. What do you think?
How do I delete this?
Just drag it to the bottom.
Oh, there we go. I think we might have to reorganize this. Dude, no. Honestly, I would put Maid at the top of this. If we get rid of C, I think Maid is at the top of C.
Sure, okay.
Yeah.
And that Flan on the end just should be moved down, because she really is. Don't pick. Can't pick. Shouldn't pick.
Wait, who? Oh, this one?
I don't know. I guess you could pick her planning on waiting for summer.
Yeah, I mean, if we were to be like more simplistic about this, like, she is just an A tier character, but
Agreed.
Like, she's good. She's not a bad character. If you're missing all the units in S tier, is there really a world where you would think about Lidica over any of the others in the tier?
No, that's why she's at the bottom of the S tier. They're not equal. Stenny is not equal to Lidica, and any more than TML is equal to Sage Vivian.
Opsig lower, I don't think I would agree with that. You can't put. I can't see it. I cannot see a world where you put Opsig
tier as FCC, who gets killed by Opsig.
I cannot see that. I cannot see a world where you put Opsig in the same tier as Closer and LQC. Like, I just can't. I feel like there is definitely a moment where I'm sitting there like, wow, there is a fucking barrier here. This Opsig is about to just one-shot this whole team. Like, I have seen that. I don't think I've seen a moment to pick Closer in so long. Three Revivers in C? I mean, that's just the truth. Like, Iseria is a good as fuck character, guys. FCC is like fifth. Listen, if you're a fifth pick and you're a good unit, doesn't matter. You can say that about literally every character in the game. I think that assessing a character based on how good they are as a fifth pick must ban is a very. It does not say much, in my opinion. It does not say much. You can fifth pick ML Ken. You can fifth pick Arby. You can fifth pick your mom. Like, it doesn't matter. A Tywin up to C tier. He's good against Sage Baal, which is better than the. Okay, here's the problem with that. And I argued that A Tywin has some use against Sage Baal. But what team are you running that you can unironically pick A Tywin? If you're going to counter Sage Baal, right, you're going to do that with... Okay, number one, I don't think there's like a true answer to Sage Baal. I think Sage Baal requires you to have like a very specific cleave, and if you don't abide by the boundaries of the cleave, you're dying. And Sage Baal, I think, in his peak, is actually actually like the best in slot, like 3rd, 4th, 5th pick unit against Cleave. Like unironically, in almost 99.99% of cases, he is one of, if not the best 3rd, 4th, 5th pick. Barring some magical universe where someone is playing like a very specific early anti-Sage Baal Cleave, he will always be the best pick in 3, 4, 5. Like, I cannot think of a single situation where he is not. And with that, I think... Do you think this is fine? I kind of...
should sort the bottom tier.
The bottom tier.
Yeah.
F tier.
Just the bottom tier. Like, move Ray to the end and move Zio to the front and call it a day.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
Because somebody's going to say, what do you mean Ray's better than Zio if you leave it like that?
It literally says excluded, and it's like, oh, you didn't you didn't judge the the excluded units. All right. Okay. I think that's it. Right? I think this is
I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I'm happy with it too. All right. Thank you, Tristan.
Excluded units would go Zio in S tier.
Ray's not out. That's
probably in A tier. Cavill in B tier, and Ray stays right where he is. He's a unit you should never pick.
Damn, you put Cavill in B? I'm not gonna lie. I think Cavill's like an S tier character. I think he's the best cleave unit that we've gotten in a long time. True cleave, not just like aggro. In my opinion.
Yeah, him and Elena can chill on A tier then.
Yeah.
I'll meet you halfway.
Not bad. I would agree. The only reason why I say this is because like half the characters that come out nowadays enable Pavel.
Yeah.
Like
Ray exists simply so that Judge Kise can stop being the worst ML5 unit in the game.
All right, we'll see.
At least 2 or 3 more months, we
will see. I am excited to see what she does, or what he does rather, and then we'll see after. Yes. Okay. All right. That's going to be the end of it, I think. Let's do a final shout out ending. This is the tier list. I'll post the image after I get the video out. Tristan, is there anyone you want to shout out? Anything? YouTube, Discord, Twitter, any of that jazz?
I want to give a special shout out to ML Ken, who deserves to be higher than what Kana has rated him. Pick him. He'll show you who's the best.
All right.
Thanks for having me on, Kana. This was fun. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. As always, I'm Kana, guys. This is Tristan Wolf. You guys know where to find me. If you're watching this on YouTube, congratulations, you're already here. Make sure to press a little red subscribe button, notification bell, all that jazz. Comment who you thought was good or bad. Please don't call me an idiot, although that is what typically happens in the comment section. That's okay. I'm used to it. And yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I'll see you all in the next one. Adios, guys.